Chapter 132. 10 times. Hearing this, Su-yi couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. 10 times the price, originally 101-star primordial stones. Now, it was 1,001-star primordial stones. Such a price was almost the price of a low-tier, celestial-grade elixir. Although the level of the elixir that was enhanced by the mysterious space was comparable to the low-tier, celestial-grade elixir. But Su-yi also knew that the elixir was only a high-tier, celestial-grade elixir. Inmost asterisk, New 9, Chapter OWX. No matter how abnormal the mysterious space was, it couldn't really enhance the level of the elixir. Originally, Su-yi thought that the elixir that was enhanced by the mysterious space would be worth double the price. In the long run, it would be enough to make him rich. But now the price was 10 times the price. One elixir was 1,001-star primordial stones. Su-yi took out dozens of elixirs, thinking that it could be exchanged for tens of thousands of one-star primordial stones. Su-yi couldn't help but gasp. This was too amazing. Okay, deal. Thank you. Su-yi didn't refuse and smiled. Although he didn't know why Lingbao Pavilion would pay such a high price for these elixirs, Su-yi knew that Lingbao Pavilion was very sincere. You're welcome. If there's anything that Lingbao Pavilion can do for you in the future, no matter where, please come to any branch of Lingbao Pavilion. Deacon Wu was very polite. As he spoke, he took out a space bag and handed it to Su-yi. He said, "All the primordial stones and these herbs have been calculated. The total is 40,301-star primordial stones. This space bag is a gift to you. I still need to buy some herbs and elixirs," Su-yi said to Deacon Wu. At the same time, he took the space bag. He pretended to be calm, but in his heart, he was trembling. This was tens of thousands of primordial stones. It was enough to buy many Su clans. With so many primordial stones, he couldn't let the mysterious space absorb more. Of course, Manager Wu said, "What kind of medicinal pills and ingredients do you need? We'll sell them to you at the lowest price. I need some spirit herbs that haven't been harvested long ago. The more the better, but the fresher they are. Give me some of your vitality recovery pills, as well as early-stage 7th-grade demon vitality pills, barbarian spirit pills." Su-yi listed a lot of medicinal herbs and several kinds of pills in one breath. They were all ordinary-level spiritual herbs and healing pills. Su-yi didn't forget about the golden python and the other beasts. Beast essence pills and barbarian spirit pills were needed by savage beasts. The demonic essence pill was more suitable for savage beasts to heal their injuries, while the barbarian spirit pill could increase their cultivation. Hearing Su-yi's words, Deacon Wu couldn't help being startled. After putting the medicinal herbs and pills into his spatial bag, Su-yi got up and prepared to leave. "Your Excellency, please wait." Just at this moment, a clear voice sounded. Su-yi looked in the direction of the voice and saw a plain-clothed woman and a beautiful figure with a white veil covering her face. That graceful and exquisite figure was wearing a light purple dress and a light muslin jacket, which vividly outlined her graceful figure. Even her long hair was slanted to her waist, as if it was boneless, causing people to be unable to help but let their imaginations run wild. Su-yi sized up the beautiful figure. Judging from her voice, she didn't seem to be old. Moreover, judging from her invisible temperament, it was not hard to imagine that under the white veil was a moving face. Even if she was not devastatingly beautiful, she would be able to seduce all living beings. A powerhouse, very powerful. However, when Su-yi looked at the plain-clothed woman in her 50s, his eyes immediately trembled. The woman was wearing a plain long dress. Her hair was tied up in a bun, and there were faint wrinkles on her face. She seemed kind, but the invisible aura made Su-yi feel that she was unfathomable. She gave Su-yi a feeling that she was even stronger than Attendant Wu. This woman was definitely a powerhouse. "Let me introduce you. This is our Spirit Treasure Pavilions." Attendant Wu stood up with a respectful expression and introduced the person to Su-yi. "My name is Lon Bailien, and I am also a disciple of the Spirit Treasure Pavilion. I still don't know your name. Is it convenient for you to tell me?" Lon Balian interrupted Attendant Wu. Her eyes under the white veil seemed to be fixed on Su-yi. Su-yi was a little startled. Looking at Lon Balian's aura and Attendant Wu's attitude, it seemed that her position in the Spirit Treasure Pavilion was not simple. What day was it today that the higher-ups of the Spirit Treasure Pavilion were attracted? Su-yi said softly. Su-yi. If it was the other way around, then he would be called Isu. It could be considered as not changing his name. Isu. Chapter 133. It doesn't matter where I came from. Treasures like the blood jade spirit ginseng can only be obtained by those who are fated. If Miss Lon doesn't have anything else to say, I'll take my leave first. Su-yi said softly. This Lon Balian was not old, but her position in the Spirit Treasure Pavilion was not simple. She was probably not a good person. It was better to have less contact with her. After saying that, Su-yi nodded slightly and turned to leave. Seeing Su-yi leave, Lon Balian's eyes under the white veil moved slightly. She then said, Mr. Isu, please wait. As she said that, Lon Balian's graceful figure appeared in front of Su-yi without any movement. A faint fragrance assailed his nostrils. At this moment, Su-yi's eyes under the cloak and mask trembled. This Lon Balian was indeed not simple. Hula. At this moment, a formless aura surged over and entered Su-yi's mind through the cloak and mask. This aura was silent and very strange. However, Su-yi felt it. At this moment, the faint scarlet soul energy in his mind surged. In an instant, in Su-yi's mind, a majestic and destructive aura spread out from the depths of his soul. Then, it wrapped around the formless aura. The faint scarlet soul energy fluctuated and radiated light. It was as if it was on fire. The aura suddenly became hot. Chi-la. In an instant, the formless aura seemed to be burned away. It immediately retreated. GJ update unspecified currency new most fast on 7-inch bang. Lon Balian's feet trembled for no reason. Shock surged from her eyes under the white veil. Soul energy. At this moment, Su-yi realized that someone's soul energy had invaded his mind. Miss Lon, what is the meaning of this? Su-yi stared at Lon Balian, and a sharp glint appeared in his eyes. This was Lon Balian's doing. If he hadn't taken the initiative to counterattack due to his soul power, the consequences would have been dire. Mr. Isu, I don't have any evil intentions. I'm just curious about Mr. Isu. Please forgive me. Lon Balian bowed. She did not hide anything. Her expression darkened. At this moment, even through the mask, she could feel the sharpness in his eyes. Lon Balian was indeed using her soul energy to probe. As she expected, this young man in front of her was definitely an alchemist. What shocked her even more was that this person's soul energy was very strong. It was strange and frightening. The aura in his soul energy was like that of an emperor who could not be provoked. It was destructive and made her feel as if she had been struck by lightning. If she had not retreated quickly, her soul energy would have been injured. Following that, Lon Balian took out a black, triangular, and exquisite black card with many exquisite patterns engraved on it. She handed it to Su-yi. With an apologetic voice, she said, "This is the black card of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. In the future, when Mr. goes to any branch of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, as long as you show this card, you will enjoy the best service of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Take it as my apology to Mr. Immortal Lady." This, when he saw the black card that Lon Balian took out, Attendant Wu's expression could not help but change. His heart could not help but ripple. This was the black card of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. In the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, there were a total of 4 types of VIP cards. They were the Silver card, Gold card, Black card, and the Supreme Spirit card. Generally speaking, it was already difficult to become a VIP of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Everyone knew that if one wanted to become a VIP of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, even if it was just a Silver card VIP of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, it represented not only strength but also status. Generally speaking, a Silver card VIP of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion would not be able to become a VIP of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion unless one had an extremely powerful backer. Otherwise, even if one had the cultivation of the Yuanjin realm, one would not be able to become a VIP of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion if one did not have a special relationship or backer. As for the gold card VIP of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, if an Yuanjin realm cultivator could become a gold card VIP of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, it would be enough to show off. As for the black card, there were not many people in the entire Spirit Treasures Pavilion who were qualified to sign such a VIP card. The Immortal lady before him was one of them. Just this alone was enough to prove how difficult it was to become a black card VIP of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. A black card VIP of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion would not only enjoy the simple service of purchasing and selling cultivation resources. It was enough to make those experts in the world scramble like ducks. And now, the Immortal lady had actually directly signed a black card and handed it to a young man that she had not even met before. How could Attendant Wu not be shocked? In the entire continent, there were not many black card VIP of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. All right, then I won't stand on ceremony. Sui stopped. Without much hesitation, he reached out his hand to take the black card under Attendant Wu's astonished gaze and immediately left. Send Mr. Isu off, Lan Lian said. Lan Balian asked. Her eyes under the white veil stared at Su Yi's back. Her gaze was hazy and filled with shock. The young man from the Spirit Treasures Pavilion went up to enthusiastically send Su Yi off. Immortal lady, this is a black card of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. This Isu. Attendant Wu was very depressed. First of all, this black card was given away so casually. Most importantly, this was a black card of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. If it was given to anyone else, they would be wild with joy and indescribable excitement. However, that Isu was actually indifferent. It was as if he did not care at all as he took the black card and left. How could this Attendant Wu know that Su Yi did not know of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's origins at all? What black card or gold card? To Su, it was just something that he might be able to buy at a discount. It would be a waste not to pick up such a bargain. Furthermore, this Lan Lian had just offended him. Being able to get a discount on the black card was just compensation. This is good karma. There is no need to say anything more. Lan Lian said to Attendant Wu in the hall. At this moment, Lan Lian had many doubts in her heart. This Isu gave her an unfathomable feeling. Earlier, she sized him up. No matter how she looked at him, he should not be very old. Could it be that he was deliberately hiding it? Otherwise, why would he not be affected by the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's black card? Even an ordinary origin monarch would not be able to maintain such composure. Immortal lady, did you see anything? The plain-clothed woman asked Lan Lian. She had also sensed something unusual from Lan Lian's reaction earlier. If he is not deliberately hiding it, then he should be an alchemist. His soul energy is very special and strong. To be able to train such a disciple, the person behind him is definitely not ordinary. He should be worthy of a black card, Lan Lian said softly, frowning slightly. Chapter 134. Su Yi left the Lingbao Hall. He had gained a lot this time. Su Yi strolled around the city for a while and finally walked into a wine shop. The wine shop was bustling with noise and excitement. Many bare-chested men were playing finger-guessing games and shouting. They were in groups of 3 to 5, 8 to 9. They were all adventurers or mercenaries. Some of them lived in the barbarian demon forest for months on end. Naturally, they wanted to relax. In addition to wine, there was also meat in the wine shop. Most of the meat came from low-level beasts. Drinking big bowls and eating big pieces of meat were more suitable for these mercenaries and adventurers. Su Yi found a secluded corner and asked for a pot of wine and a plate of meat. When I go back, I must go to Little Peach for 3 days and 3 nights. Just thinking about her breasts makes me drool. Ha ha, 3 days and 3 nights for you? I'm afraid you will die in Little Peach's hands. There was a hubbub of voices. These mercenaries and adventurers were quite rude. Su Yi came to the wine shop mainly to inquire about information. In such a place where people from all walks of life gathered, plus wine and meat, it was the best place for information to circulate. The Black Devil sect hasn't found the kid they are looking for. The reward has been increased. I heard that if you provide information about that kid, you can get 50,000 yuan stones. If you capture that kid, you can get a high-level starred rate elixir. That kid is really a talent. He is very difficult to deal with. He killed the young master of the Black Devil sect and left them empty-handed for so long. Not only that, I heard that not long ago, Heijio of the Black Devil sect tried to capture that kid, but he couldn't. He killed the only son of the master of the Black Devil sect. That kid is really bold. The Black Devil sect will definitely not let this go. He frowned. Finally, he heard the news he wanted to hear. He immediately pricked up his ears and listened carefully. MJB starter unspecified currency. However, this information was more or less what he had expected. The Black Fiend sect had increased the reward for finding him, so the information was more or less the same. I see experts from the Black Fiend school coming. Could it be that the brat fled here? That's not possible. That person seems to be an elder from the Black Fiend sect. I heard that the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng appeared in the barbarian Yao Grand Canyon. Maybe the experts from the Black Fiend sect came for the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng. It can't be. Did the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng really appear? Shoo, lower your voice. Not many people know about this. I only heard about it by accident. It shouldn't be baseless, right? However, some of the discussions that followed caused Su-Yi to secretly frown. If an elder from a Black Fiend sect really appeared in the vicinity, it would be best for him to avoid them. Once he encountered them, it would be disastrous. Suddenly, Su-Yi, who was listening attentively, felt a cold gaze fall on him. Su-Yi looked in the direction of the gaze. Not far away, the owner of the cold gaze was sitting at a table with a few people. The owner of this gaze was none other than the 3 bears from the Wild Bear Gang. At this moment, the other 2 burly men from the 3 bears were also present, along with a few other burly men. The few of them were whispering something to each other. In the end, they all looked over with cold sneers. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. Su-Yi smiled faintly. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. He didn't expect to meet these people again in this wine shop. He had already gathered all the information he needed. There might be experts from the Black Fiend sect in the vicinity. Su-Yi stood up and directly left. Seeing Su-Yi stand up, the few people from the Wild Bear Gang looked at each other and sneered. They stood up and followed behind Su-Yi without leaving a trace. All of this was naturally noticed by Su-Yi. Without batting an eyelid, he cast a sideways glance at the few people following behind him. It was Su-Yi's first time encountering a few Origin Spirit stage practitioners following him in such a secretive manner. Su-Yi pondered to himself. These were a few Origin Spirit stage practitioners. The Wild Bear Gang might have other people in other places. Once he left the in-city, these people might not be able to hold themselves back and make a move against him. Su-Yi didn't feel that he had any advantage in terms of speed against a few Origin Spirit stage practitioners. After leaving the in-city, these fellows would likely no longer hide and would directly make their move. When that happened, the chances of him escaping would be minuscule. He was too close to the in-city, and there were too many people passing by. It wouldn't be convenient for him to let the Golden Python and the rest take action. Moreover, for safety's sake, Su-Yi had the Golden Python wait for him a little further away. "Boss, how much is this?" Su-Yi walked and stopped along the way. From time to time, he would deliberately turn his head back, causing the few Wild Bear Gang members to continuously dodge and avoid him. "Dear customer, come up and play." At the corner of the street, there were a few scantily clad women with heavy makeup trying to entice passers-by. "How much is it?" Su-Yi suddenly had an idea. Without leaving a trace, he glanced behind him and asked a gorgeous woman with a deep cleavage in front of him. "The price is cheap. I guarantee your satisfaction." Seeing Su-Yi reply, the gorgeous woman immediately wrapped her arms around Su-Yi's arm in a passionate and charming manner. "If you guarantee my satisfaction, then what can you do?" Su-Yi laughed and took the opportunity to grope the gorgeous woman's waist. "Customer, you're so naughty. I guarantee you'll be satisfied." "Of course, I can play anything." The gorgeous woman became even more charming and took the opportunity to press herself closer to Su-Yi's body. "Anything?" Hearing this, Su-Yi's heart couldn't help but sway. With one arm around the gorgeous woman, Su-yi went up to the second floor and entered her room. Humph, this guy sure is carefree and happy. If it weren't for the fact that we can't fight in Relay City, I'd kill him right now. Save me the trouble of waiting for him here. Turning a corner not too far away, the three bears' face was gloomy and angry. The three bears had thought the guy was going to leave the city. Who would have guessed that he was going to visit a brothel? Looking at the gorgeously dressed women at the intersection, the three bears, who had been out for several months, suddenly felt his throat go dry. He couldn't help but swallow. If that guy can go up to the second floor of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, then he must have a lot of things on him. The face of the big bear of the three rough-looking men flickered. He should be leaving the city. Just wait a bit, said the second bear, his gaze gloomy. Of the three brothers, he had always been the brains. Humph, when the time comes, I'll definitely make that guy regret messing with me. The third bear clenched his fists and said hatefully. Time slowly passed. More than 2 hours later, the Wild Bear Gang members were starting to get impatient, especially the women in front of them, who were gorgeously dressed and dazzling, made them even more uncomfortable. Chapter 135. He's out. It's that woman. But why didn't that guy come out? Don't tell me he played too hard and died in his room. Look at that woman. Look at her. Her breasts. She's obviously a sucker. Normal people wouldn't be able to take it. A few of the men from the Wild Bear Gang had lewd smiles on their faces as they stared at the gorgeous woman walking down the stairs. They couldn't help but imagine how coquettish the gorgeous woman was on the bed just now. No, that kid might have already discovered us. Second Bear's expression changed. Su-yi left the post house without hesitation. If the Wild Bear Gang caught up to him, he would be the only one out of luck. As for the gorgeous woman, Su-yi entered her room, paid her, and left through the back window. Su-yi didn't want to leave his virginity in this world, nor did he want to give his first time to a woman who was in the flesh business. After leaving the city, he paid attention to his back. Su-yi used his identity and left quickly. Although he was carrying a heavy sword, Su-yi's speed wasn't slow. However, after 2 hours, Su-yi noticed that someone was following him. They're finally here. Su-yi seemed to have predicted all of this. The corners of his mouth curved into a smile under the mask, and he went into a remote forest in front of him. Quick, follow that guy. He's right in front. That's him. Don't let him get away. On the main road, dozens of figures rushed out. It was a majestic sight. The ones at the front were the three brothers from the Wild Bear Gang. From the gorgeous woman, the Wild Bear Gang learned that Su-yi had escaped. He must have left the city. They immediately notified everyone to search for him. On the way, the three brothers asked for information. After all, Su-yi's appearance was very eye-catching. After chasing for 2 hours, they finally caught up. Let's do it in front. Quick! The three brothers rubbed their fists, their eyes cold. This was the perfect place to make a move. After enduring for so long, they could finally make their move. Boom! As soon as they spoke, Yuan Qi surged under their feet. The Yuan Qi transformed into a 3-zhang tall leopard. Roar! The leopard let out a deep roar and charged towards Su-yi. The three brothers were at the essence spirit realm. However, the beast-shaped form from his Yuan Qi was a beast, not a bird. Generally speaking, when an essence spirit realm cultivator's Yuan Qi took form, the beast-shaped form would be more like a bird. This was undoubtedly much more convenient. However, there were exceptions. Some people who didn't have the talent to form a bird. The three brothers were fast. Forests, boulders, and towering trees. Most percent new chapters. UK thick vines like horned dragons took root and coiled around the giant rocks and towering trees. I told you, don't let me see you outside the city. Jia. The three brothers finally caught up to Su. The leopard beneath their feet was like a living creature, its aura fierce. Its aura shook the area, sweeping up sand and stones. Su-yi stopped in his tracks. Looking at the three brothers, his expression calm, he said, "Catching up now? You're a bit slower than I thought." Hearing Su-yi's words, the three brothers couldn't help but stare at Su-yi. Even now, you're still trying to act mysterious. Don't you know how to write the character Death? The one who's going to die is definitely you. Do you believe me? Sue, he laughed calmly. Acting mysterious. You're looking to die. The three brothers were enraged. Their aura surged, shaking the air. Wait a moment, Sue, he said to the three brothers. What? Now I want to beg for mercy. Kneel down and kowtow out to me 3 times, and I'll only take half your life. What do you think? The three brothers froze. Looking at Sue, they laughed wildly. This guy finally knew how to beg for mercy. Wait for your helpers, said Sui coolly. I don't want to cause any more trouble. Whoosh whoosh. As soon as Sui finished speaking, Xiong, Xiong, and the others had already caught up. Bastard, even if you beg for mercy today, it's useless. The three brothers were furious. Trust me, you'll regret this. Sui laughed calmly. In my dictionary, there's no such thing as regret. The three brothers couldn't hold back their anger any longer. Then I can tell you responsibly that your dictionary is definitely a pirated version. Sui's voice was as calm as the clouds and the wind. Bastard, today I'm going to smash you into a pulp, roared the three brothers. Even at this time, this fellow still dared to ridicule him, not even putting him in his eyes. His eyes flashed coldly, and his aura surged. Third bro, wait, be careful. Something's not right. Second bear had a suspicious look on his face. His opponent's attitude was far too abnormal. As he called out to third bear, he also sensed that there was something off about the atmosphere. There was an inexplicable pressure, and he felt very uneasy. If I hadn't intentionally left a trail behind, do you really think you'd be able to catch up to me? You're courting death, so don't blame me. You can all die. Sui's eyes flashed with killing intent. He couldn't blame himself for this. Jia, bastard, your tone is a bit too arrogant. Do you really think one person can handle so many of us? The three brothers had been in a bad mood at being stopped by the two brothers. Now that they heard Sui's words, their fury reached its peak. But before he could finish speaking, the expression on his fierce face suddenly froze. Hiss! A golden python suddenly appeared next to Sui. A black rat and a red mink swaggered out to stand next to Sui. A silver butterfly and a jade-white bird appeared in the air. They weren't very large, but when they flapped their wings, they seemed to cause a storm. Roar! Just as everyone was flabbergasted, a thunderous tiger's roar rang out. Behind the wild bear gang, a big tiger with a long neck appeared. It roared, glaring at them like a tiger watching its prey. It opened its mouth and let out a low roar, revealing its sharp fangs. Its aura was indescribably fierce. Boom! When these 6 savage beasts appeared, 6 terrifying auras filled the air. Not good at savage beasts. Golden python, hell rat, white jade mystic bird, and fiery tiger. They're all at the demon spirit realm. How can there be so many demon spirit realm beasts? Not good. What do we do, gang leader? Everyone from the wild bear gang trembled in fear. How could they not sense those powerful auras? After all, they were all demon spirit realm savage beasts. Just one demon spirit realm savage beast was enough to make them suffer, not to mention 6 of them. Chapter 136. Awu. Following Sui's words, the 6 savage beasts rushed out in an instant. 6 ferocious auras swept out in all directions. Run, run. These savage beasts are all his. We've been tricked. Run. Help. Awu. Rumble. Chaos ensued. The beasts' roars were like thunder. Sand and stones flew everywhere. Only now did the 3 bears from the ferocious bear gang realize that they were simply courting death. If they had known that this person had 6 terrifying savage beasts by his side, they wouldn't have dared to provoke him even if they were given 100 guts. But now, it was too late for regrets. Among the dozens of ferocious bear gang members, apart from the 3 bears and 3 people who were at the first stage of Origin Spirit Realm, there were only a dozen or so at the Origin Profound Realm. The rest were all at the Origin Soul Realm. This level of cultivation wasn't enough to kill the Golden Python and Blazing Barbaric Bird, but the 3 bears and 3 people. The Golden Python opened its mouth and swallowed the second bear, while its tail whipped the leading bear to death. The third bear was torn apart and swallowed by the Blazing Barbaric Tiger. In a short time, the ferocious bear gang was dealt with. He found a spatial pouch on the body of the leading bear. Presumably, the gains from the Spirit Treasures Pavilion were all in the spatial pouch. Let's go. He left with the savage beasts. This wasn't a place to stay for long. He was afraid that the commotion just now would attract other people. 2 days later, in front of them was a continuous mountain range. Looking from afar, it twisted and turned. Layers upon layers of cliffs overlapped with a large canyon. The tall mountains on both sides of the canyon soared into the sky. They were like vertical swords that separated the heavens and the earth. This canyon was continuous. It wasn't just one, but many. It spiraled between the heavens and the earth. Looking at it from afar, it was very shocking. My lord, the great barbaric demon canyon is in front. The silver spirit demonic butterfly said as it circled around Su Yi's shoulder. Great barbaric demon canyon. Su Yi gazed at the canyon in front of him. It was a vast area. Not many mercenaries and adventurers dared to casually enter this canyon. This was the path to the barbaric demon forest, a paradise for savage beasts. To humans, it was a land of death. Adventurer teams and mercenary groups wanted to kill savage beasts to obtain the resources on their bodies. The skin, hair, tendons, and bones of many savage beasts were materials for forging weapons and refining pills. However, despite knowing that there were many savage beasts in the Great Barbaric Beast Canyon, not many people dared to enter. That was because not many of the people who rushed to the Barbarian Demon Grand Canyon were able to leave safely. Come in. Su Yi nodded. Since the Black Fiend sect was searching for him everywhere, he could only enter the Barbarian Demon Grand Canyon. In here, he would have a lot of advantages over others. Awu, the silver spirit butterfly, netherworld rat, golden python, and fire-eyed barbaric tiger roared in joy. In the outside world, with their current cultivation and strength, they wouldn't be able to obtain any training. The Great Barbaric Demon Canyon was their paradise. In the future, it would be the Barbaric Demon Forest. There were indeed many savage beasts in the Great Barbaric Demon Canyon. Not long after Su Yi entered, he encountered many savage beasts. However, these savage beasts didn't have high cultivation levels. With the golden python, fire-eyed barbaric tiger, and other powerful auras, they didn't dare to harass Su Yi. The deeper you go, the higher the cultivation level of the savage beasts. It is said that there are demonic emperors in the Great Barbaric Demon Canyon. The fire-eyed barbaric tiger told Su Yi that the Great Barbaric Demon Canyon wasn't a good place. Demonic emperors. Su Yi's eyes were secretly filled with yearning. Demonic emperors were legendary existences at the demonic emperor realm. That level was too powerful. Let's find a place. I have something for you. Su Yi said. This time, he had prepared many elixirs for the golden python and other savage beasts in the Spirit Treasure Pavilion. This was the Great Barbaric Demon Canyon, and it was much safer. If he could help the golden python and other savage beasts improve their cultivation, it would be safer. As for Su Yi himself, he wanted to temper himself in the Great Barbaric Demon Canyon so that he could break through to the profound origin realm as soon as possible. The Essence Soul realm was indeed too weak. The Silver Spirit, Demonic Butterfly, and White Jade, Profound Bird quickly found a safe place. At night, in the cave, Su Yi called out the mysterious space and had the Golden Python and other savage beasts enter it. In the mysterious space, Su Yi woke up the Blazing Barbaric Bird and Snow Jade Barbaric Ape, who were healing themselves. He took out many barbarian spiritual pills and gave them to the Golden Python and Blazing Barbaric Bird. Thank you, Lord. The Golden Python and other savage beasts were overjoyed. Their eyes were filled with gratitude. They knew what the barbarian spiritual pills were. As savage beasts, it was almost impossible for them to obtain pills that were suitable for savage beasts. But at this moment, consuming the barbarian spiritual pills would bring them great benefits. My lord, we want to eat too. It looks delicious. DeBeo and Xiao Ling popped out, their faces gluttonous. You guys have some too. Su Yi smiled. Naturally, he wouldn't forget about the two little fellows. He specially found pills that were suitable for the two little fellows. The barbarian spiritual pills were suitable for savage beasts in the demon spirit realm. The effect wasn't suitable for the two little fellows. He had the blazing barbaric bird and golden python take the pills and go into seclusion in the mysterious space. So he was busy. He placed all the pills that he had exchanged from the spiritual treasure pavilion into the mysterious space to increase the effect of the pills. At the same time, planting a large amount of fresh herbs required Su Yi's time. Inside the mysterious space, the area wasn't too big. After the plants were planted, they filled up the entire space. At first glance, it looked like a large medicinal field. Su Yi was in a good mood. This was a large amount of wealth. When these herbs matured, they would be worth a lot. After finishing everything, Su Yi looked at the golden python and other savage beasts that had consumed the barbarian spiritual pills and left. He hoped that after going into seclusion in the mysterious space, these savage beasts would be able to advance further. Walking out of the mysterious space, the night wind whistled outside the cave. The bright moon was in the west. It was already midnight. Awoo! Deep in the canyon, the roars of beasts could be heard from time to time. I wonder how effective the absorption of yuan stones will be. Su Yi thought of something. Cultivators were able to absorb yuan stones to cultivate. Back then, he didn't have any yuan stones. Later on, the yuan stones in the interspatial bag were all absorbed by the mysterious space. But now it's different. There are still a lot of yuan stones left in the interspatial bag that the spiritual treasure pavilion gave him. Su Yi wanted to give it a try. It was said that when a cultivator absorbs yuan stones, their cultivation speed would increase by several folds. Taking out a yuan stone from the interspatial bag, Su Yi wanted to see if he could absorb yuan stones to cultivate. Sitting cross-legged, Su Yi placed the yuan stone on his palm and adjusted his breathing. He closed his eyes and circulated the Origin Supreme technique, intending to give it a try. Boom! The Origin Supreme technique circulated and its aura surged. Chapter 137. At this moment, the mysterious ball of light in Su Yi's mind suddenly glowed, and a devouring force gushed out. In the next instant, before Su Yi could react, the vitality stone in his palm had already turned into a pile of powder and lost its glow, just like the vitality testing stone in Barbarian City. Su Yi frowned and took out another vitality stone to try. But the result was the same. The mysterious ball of light in his mind immediately released a devouring force and directly absorbed the energy in the vitality stone. Su Yi gave up and stopped trying. Su Yi felt a little helpless. If he obtained something, he also had to give something away. Other cultivators could absorb vitality stones to increase their cultivation speed, but with this strange, mysterious ball of light in his body, he couldn't rely on it to cultivate. But thinking about it carefully, Su Yi also felt that this didn't affect him. Anyway, cultivating in the mysterious space could also increase his cultivation speed. As for the mysterious space, it could also nourish spiritual herbs and produce spiritual liquids and other effects. Late at night, under the moonlight, the mountain range was deep and vast, quietly sleeping in the twilight, silently facing the sky, vast and boundless. Su Yi stood at the peak of the mountain, looking at the bright moon hanging high in the sky, feeling the tranquility of the night. Su Yi was deep in thought, his heart filled with thoughts. Since coming to this world, he had experienced a lot. In his previous life, he was mediocre and thought that he could achieve something in this world. But now he was still hiding in this barbarian demon forest. His grandfather, who loved him the most in this world, was still heavily injured and probably wouldn't be able to hold on for many more years. Thinking about this, Su Yi couldn't help but feel emotional. He opened his mouth and recited, "Through the ages, heroes are nowhere to be found. Sun Zhongmo is there." In the dance pavilion and the singing stage, the romantic was always blown away by the rain and wind. Under the setting sun, grass and trees, ordinary alleys, where human slaves once lived. Thinking of the past, shining spears and armored horses, swallowing 10,000 miles like a tiger. Yuan Jia carelessly sealed the wolf, winning the panicked north. 43 years, I still remember, the fire of war rises on the road. Looking back, under the temple of the Buddha Li, a group of divine crows drum. Who asked, Lien Pu is old, can he still eat? In the end, Su Yi's voice grew louder and louder, echoing in the deep night sky. At this moment, Su Yi's eyes glowed. He did not want to be like this ever again in his life. Good, 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 suddenly a voice sounded. It was faint and ancient. Who is it? Su Yi was startled. He turned around in the direction of the voice and saw that an old man had appeared behind him. The old man looked to be in his 60s. He was thin, but his figure was tall and straight. There were deep wrinkles on his neck, and he wore a black robe. His brown eyes were deep in his eye sockets, and he held a large wine gourd in his hand, which emitted a strong wine fragrance. Expert. Su Yi cautiously took 2 steps back. This person had appeared in the great barbaric demon gorge in the middle of the night, and had even appeared behind him without a sound. He was definitely an expert with unfathomable depths. From your voice, you shouldn't be very old. Don't be afraid. If you don't provoke me, I won't do anything to you. But when I heard your poem, I got a bit emotional. The old man looked coolly at Su Yi. Even through the cloak and mask, he seemed to be able to see Su Yi's nervousness. Greetings, senior. Su Yi clasped his hands in salute. Although he was still on guard, he relaxed a bit. We don't know each other, so there's no such thing as senior. Did you compose that poem yourself? The old man looked at Su Yi, his eyes filled with curiosity. I didn't compose the poem. It was just a moment of emotion. I didn't expect to disturb you, senior. Please forgive me. I'll take my leave now. Su Yi was about to leave. It was the middle of the night, and it was best to leave the great barbaric demon gorge as soon as possible. Wait, I said don't worry, so don't worry. The old man called out to Su Yi. He lifted his gourd and took a sip of wine. Then he looked at Su Yi and said, I'm actually curious to know what you're feeling. Listening to the poem, it seems you have something on your mind. Looking at the old man, Su Yi really didn't dare to casually leave. If this mysterious old man suddenly turned hostile, then he probably wouldn't even be able to defeat one of his pinky fingers. In any case, it seemed that the old man really didn't have any ill intentions. Since he didn't dare to casually leave, Su Yi decided to just let it go. He might as well take things as they come. Looking at the old man, Su Yi said, Actually, I don't have too many emotions. I just feel that life should be as grand as the rivers and seas. Life should be as splendid as the summer flowers. Death should be as beautiful as the autumn leaves. Even the flying generals of Wulong City have iron blood and cold spears. An old steed crouching in the saddle, aspiring 1,000 miles. A martyr in his twilight years, his heart is unstoppable. His treasured blade gleams with cold light, drinking blood and fighting on the battlefield. Good, good, good. The old man said the word good 3 times in a row. This time, he looked at Su Yi's eyes. His eyes were already filled with uncontrollable emotions. He said with some excitement, an old steed crouching in the saddle, aspiring 1,000 miles. A martyr in his twilight years, his heart is unstoppable. His treasured blade gleams with cold light, drinking blood and fighting on a battlefield. Old senior is ridiculing me. Su Yi faintly smiled. He was also feeling emotional. After coming to this strange world, he didn't want to waste his life. Young people should have great aspirations. Haha, I didn't expect to meet a young person like you in this barbaric demon forest. Take off your cloak and mask. You should be hiding from someone. However, this old man will protect you tonight. Would you like to drink a few sips with this old man? The old man looked at Su Yi. The big wine gourd in his hand was directly placed in front of Su Yi. Su Yi hesitated for a moment. Then he directly took off his cloak and cloak. His face was not pale, but his facial features were extremely distinct. Under the moonlight, Su Yi's figure was tall and straight. Under his slender, sword-like eyebrows, his eyes suddenly flashed with a bright light. They were deep and sharp. Looking at Su Yi's appearance, The old man's eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment. It was as if he didn't expect this young man in front of him to be even younger than he had imagined. The strange clothes on his back also made him take a few more glances. Good, then I won't be polite. Sui smiled and took the old man's wine gourd. He raised his head and took a sip. There was an inexplicable evil and arrogant temperament. This evil arrogance seemed to come from his bones. Cough. After just one mouthful of wine entered his stomach, he almost spat it out. This wine was too strong. When it entered his throat, it was like a knife cutting through it. It carried a wave of heat. It was as if his throat was about to smoke. Then, it immediately spread throughout his body. It was as if waves of heat were spreading through his body. What a strong wine. He was a little embarrassed. He didn't expect the wine to be so strong. This is good stuff. This old man spent a lot of effort to get just a little bit. After drinking it, it should be quite good for you. The old man faintly smiled. Is that so? Chapter 138. Cough, cough. After taking a big gulp of wine, Suyi's throat seemed to be on the verge of bleeding. The burning sensation caused his entire body to turn red from neck to face. Ha, carefree and unrestrained. Not bad, kid. The old man looked at Sui, clearly surprised. Then he smiled faintly, and a look of praise appeared in his eyes. This kid looked greedy, but was actually free and unrestrained. He was carefree and unrestrained, and not pretentious at all. Senior, please don't laugh at me. Sui returned the gourd to the old man. The old man accepted it and took a sip. He looked up at the boundless night, sky, and mountains, his eyes shining brightly. Right and wrong, success and failure vanish in the blink of an eye. The green hills are still there. The setting sun is red, and the white-haired fisherman stands on the riverbank, accustomed to the autumn moon and the spring breeze. A pot of turbid wine brings us together. How many things, past and present, have become a joke? As his voice faded, the old man's eyes were filled with emotion. Suyi's eyes flickered. He looked at the old man and smiled faintly. Senior's emotional outburst doesn't match the wine at all. What do you mean? The old man looked back at Sui curiously. The wine is strong, but the emotional outburst is... Sui smiled faintly and shook his head. Forget it. I'm afraid I'll say something wrong. Just say it. The old man looked at Sui, a look of anticipation in his eyes. That kid is impudent. Sui looked at the old man. From Senior's emotional outburst, I was touched. It was as if the river of history had surged before Senior's eyes, and the mountains and rivers had once floated beneath your feet. Only, as time passed and circumstances changed, I heard a sigh, and it began to reveal a bit of heroism and sorrow. But in the end, I got used to it and became indifferent to it. After pausing for a moment, Sui continued, Senior is regretting that you didn't have a confidant who was willing to become an old man after fishing for you, who was willing to exchange cups with you, to drink and chat merrily with you, to grow old in the spring breeze and autumn moon. Right now, Senior should still be alone, occasionally softly singing. Just like tonight, in a long river of history, has become the passage of time. The old man had been staring at Sui the whole time. His brown eyes, which were sunken in his eye sockets, flickered for a moment before he calmed down. Pausing for a moment, Sui looked at the old man and said, I was touched. Kid, you've got some guts. Am I right? Ha! The old man laughed. He took a sip of wine, then tossed the gourd back to Sui. Right or wrong, that's not important. What's important is that I have you to drink with me tonight. That's an unexpected gain. Wonderful. It's my honor. Sui caught the wine gourd. He didn't hesitate and took another sip. After all, this wine was good stuff. He probably wouldn't be able to drink it again in the future. Not drinking it would be a loss. Drinking to my heart's content, singing to my heart's content, flying high and domineering, for who is the hero? A man's journey into the demon forest. I am the king of 100,000 beasts. The fierce tiger in my heart has been startled to sleep. I roar to the heavens to shake the 1,000 mountains. One sword and one saber laugh at the heavens. Tonight, I'll drink to my heart's content. Sui laughed heartily. He felt the blood in his heart boiling. After coming to this strange world, from now on, life will be like summer flowers, death will be like autumn leaves. Even the flying generals of Wulong City will have an iron-blooded cold spear. Drinking to my heart's content, singing to my heart's content, flying high and domineering, for who is the hero? A man's journey into the demon forest. I am the king of 100,000 beasts. The fierce tiger in my heart has been startled to sleep. I roar to the heavens to shake the 1,000 mountains. One sword and one saber laugh at the heavens. Tonight, I'll drink to my heart's content. The old man listened carefully, muttering to himself. In the end, he couldn't help but clap his hands and cheer. It seemed like he was also affected. His chest rose and fell, and his eyes shone. He could tell that this was the work of this young man. Senior, you flatter me. He also laughed and drank another mouthful of wine. After drinking this mouthful of wine, he was about to say something, but his vision became blurry. His mind began to feel dizzy. The blood in his body seemed to be burning. The hot air seemed to be burning his robes. Then he fell down. You be careful of my wine. The old man looked at the fallen He wasn't surprised, but he was nervous about his wine. His figure was like a ghost. Before He had even fallen down, the wine gourd was already in his hand. Bang! He fell to the ground, lying on all fours on the ground. His face was as red as a fireball. The old man looked at He, who had collapsed beside him. His face was still smiling, and there was even praise in his eyes. He softly said, "You're only at the essence soul stage, yet you can still endure after drinking this old man's wine. Now, this is extremely rare." Suddenly, the old man's eyes changed. He saw that Suyi's body was surging with an aura. There was a radiance that spread out, covering his entire body. The aura was overbearing and majestic. Unusual. It seems that this little guy is quite special. The old man's eyes were filled with surprise. Then he calmed down and sat on a huge rock not far from Sui. Holding the wine gourd, the old man looked at the bright moon in the sky and the vast mountain range in the distance. He took a sip from time to time. Sui felt dizzy. He felt dizzy, as if the world was spinning. Then he lost consciousness. In a daze, He felt as if his body was on fire, and was about to burn him to ashes. Following which, this blazing hot aura surged into his dantian and into his yuan qi vortex, warming up his body. Early in the morning, clouds and mist filled the air. The white mist drifted with the wind over the mountain range. Looking from afar, it looked like a flower scroll unfolding in front of one's eyes. He woke up, but the first thing he felt was the change in his body. He had just broken through to the 8th layer of the soul essence realm. Now, there seemed to be signs of another breakthrough. It's that wine. That's no ordinary wine. He immediately thought of the strong wine. It must be the effect of the strong wine. The old man said that the wine was good stuff. Not good. Thinking of the old man, he suddenly remembered and immediately jumped up. He forgot about the heavy sword on his back and almost fell down. Fortunately, he was no longer the same as before. He staggered and didn't embarrass himself. Looking around, He saw that the old man was nowhere to be seen. His heart tightened, and he immediately searched his clothes. All of his space bags were there. Everything on his body was normal. He was completely relieved. He didn't think too much about the old man from last night. He was a powerhouse. He could tell from the old man's words that although he had 1,000 knots in his heart, he was still a wild crane. It was normal for him to pass by this place. Perhaps he was here for the rumored blood jasper ginseng. It wasn't something he could really come into contact with, so it was normal for him to leave. Such a powerhouse would definitely not bother with a rookie like him. Chapter 139. Canyon. Rocks. A black wolf that was 20 feet tall and 30 feet long stared at Sui with its ferocious eyes. Its bloody mouth emitted a bloody aura. Ayo! The black wolf roared as its body trembled. It was indescribably ferocious. Stay away, or I don't mind taking action. He looked at the black wolf. It was a mysterious barbaric wolf at the demon realm. A first-level demon realm cultivation wasn't much of a threat to Su-yi. You actually know the beast language. The mysterious barbaric wolf looked at Su-yi in astonishment. It was shocked that this strange human could actually understand its language. "Let's go," Su-yi said. He felt that ever since he cultivated the primordial supreme technique, there was a strange influence. He felt that he had some sort of relationship with these barbaric beasts. So what if you know the beast language? If you're a human, then you have to die. The mysterious barbaric wolf roared as the ferocious light in its eyes did not diminish. It looked at Su-yi as if it was looking at its prey. It lightly stomped its feet as it prepared to pounce at any time. "Since you're courting death, then I'll fulfill your wish." Su-yi's eyes under the mask also emitted a cold light. Since the mysterious barbaric wolf wanted to take action, then it was different. It was a good opportunity to temper himself. "Illo!" The mysterious barbaric wolf roared as it finally found an opportunity. Its huge body was extremely fast as it pounced forward. Boom! Wherever the mysterious barbaric wolf passed, its aura surged as if it brought about a violent whirlwind. The black light was deep and dazzling, carrying a ferocious aura. It was an earth-attributed barbaric beast. Chi! Su-yi's figure moved to the side as the mysterious barbaric wolf pounced in front of him. It seemed dangerous, but it just so happened that he managed to dodge the attack. At the same time, Su-yi clenched his right fist as his yuan chi surged and directly blasted towards the mysterious barbaric wolf. Su-yi took action, but he did not circulate the primordial supreme technique. He restrained his aura as he wanted to temper himself. Roar! The mysterious dark wolf's ferocious eyes blazed even brighter when its attack missed. With a low growl, it raised its hand and clawed at Su-yi. Su-yi's eyes darkened. The claws of this mysterious dark barbarian wolf were extremely sharp. His fists were made of flesh and blood after all. It was not easy for him to forcefully resist. He immediately lowered his fist and squatted down. Using the 100 swaying steps, his body instantly appeared under the abdomen of the mysterious dark barbarian wolf. Bang! The mysterious dark wolf didn't expect this human's speed to be so fast. It simply couldn't dodge. A black light suddenly condensed under its abdomen, and a low muffled sound came from below. Su-yi's punch contained a huge amount of energy that surged into the impact. The powerful energy caused the mysterious dark wolf's body to almost flip over. It staggered back a few steps before barely stabilizing its body. Roar! The mysterious dark savage wolf howled in pain. The pain in its abdomen was unbearable. His skin is really thick. Su-yi's expression was calm. The defense of this mysterious dark wolf was stronger than he had imagined. Strong defense was also a special characteristic of Earth attribute savage beasts. Just like Earth attribute martial artists, their defense was generally more outstanding. In terms of defensive cultivation methods and martial skills, Earth attribute defensive cultivation methods and martial skills were the most common. Every type of yuan chi had its own characteristics. For example, Earth attribute martial artists were outstanding in defense. Metal attribute martial artists were known for their sharpness. Wind attribute martial artists, on the other hand, had an outstanding advantage in speed. It was said that the rarer lightning attribute martial artists had an overbearing and destructive attack power, which was very powerful. Roar! The mysterious dark wolf continued to pounce, becoming more and more ferocious. But in just a short moment, this mysterious dark wolf was lying on the ground, its body covered in blood. It was directly killed by Su-yi's punch on the head. 38th. Looking at the mysterious dark wolf lying on the ground, Su-yi was already very calm. In these 5 days, Su-yi had already killed the 58th savage beast. The grand barbaric demon canyon was indeed filled with savage beasts. The strongest one that Su-yi encountered was already at the 4th level of the demon profound realm. It took him a lot of effort to kill it. On the other hand, the most number of savage beasts Su-yi encountered during these 5 days was a total of 13 blazing barbaric rats. Even though there were many of them, fortunately, their cultivations weren't high. However, they were extremely strange and ever-changing, and he was only able to kill all of them while being surrounded by danger. In these 5 days, he did not use the Origin Supreme technique when facing the savage beasts, so as to not affect them. Gu #G #O now that he had reached the peak of the 8th level of the Soul Essence realm, he wanted to properly temper himself, so that he could break through to the 9th level of the Soul Essence realm as soon as possible, then break through to the Profound Origin realm. This time, he turned around and entered the Grand Barbaric Demon Canyon to temper himself. In these few days, he also encountered a few groups of humans, both male and female. However, when he saw those humans from afar, he avoided them. Those who dare to enter the Grand Barbaric Demon Canyon would not have weak cultivation. Furthermore, because of the blood jasper spiritual ginseng, many people probably knew about it and might be here for the blood jasper spiritual ginseng. He knew that his cultivation was far from enough. Although he also wanted the blood jasper spiritual ginseng to heal his grandfather, it was better for him not to join in the fun in the current situation. In the Boundless Canyon, the cliff was steep. The low growls were deafening. Dozens of savage beasts stood there and stared at the group of 20 or so people in a small valley with their ferocious eyes. The dozens of savage beasts were indescribably ferocious. There were giant pythons entrenched in the ground, and savage beasts stepping on huge rocks. There were even several savage beasts circling in the air, eyeing the valley covetously. Among the 20-plus people, there were both males and females. There were a few men and women in their 30s leading them, but most of them were young boys and girls. Their auras and clothes were extraordinary, and they were about the same age, about 16 or 17 years old. If he were here, he would definitely see many familiar faces. They were Bai Ling, Yun, Guiyin, Zhoda, and company from the Taixing sect. However, at this moment, these young boys and girls had serious and nervous expressions. These young boys and girls held their weapons tightly in their hands, forming a tight circle around each other. There were faint bloodstains on Yun's patterned brocade dress. His beautiful black hair was scattered and messy. Despite his nervous expression, his beautiful eyes were still sparkling. Bai Ling was close to Yun. Her eyes on her oval-shaped face were lively, and she had a charming charm. Her aura was fluctuating. Deacon, when will the elders arrive? There are so many savage beasts. We can't fight them all. There are too many savage beasts. What should we do now? Many of the young boys and girls were unable to remain calm. Many of these savage beasts were at the Fey spirit realm, and the two leading them were even at the Fey true realm. We have already informed the elders. Everyone, act according to the situation. The elders should be arriving soon. A woman in her 30s said. She was dressed in a tight dress, and her figure was curvy. She could not be considered beautiful, but she had a pretty face. Chapter 140. However, at this moment, the girl was also secretly solemn. Although she was comforting the disciples, she knew that if the elders didn't arrive in time, everyone would be doomed. A joint attack. Everyone, be careful. A young man spoke. He looked to be in his 30s and held a long spear in his hand. His eyes shone brightly, but his expression was as solemn as the girl beside him. The man knew that many of these savage beasts were at the demon spirit realm. The leading Black Panther and the Red Bird circling in the air were both at the demon true realm. Judging from their auras, the leading Black Panther and Red Bird were probably at the 6th or 7th level of the demon true realm or above. With so many savage beasts, they were no match for them. On top of a towering boulder in the valley, a huge Black Panther raised its head and roared. Its roar shook the void as its body emitted a black light, and its aura swept across the valley. Instantly, the surrounding beasts roared like thunder. One by one, the savage beasts roared in unison and pounced towards the valley. Rumble! Dozens of savage beasts galloped as their auras exploded. The ground trembled as if there was an earthquake as their ferocious auras swept towards them. Guji! In the sky, there were several birds that flapped their wings and swooped down. Such a formation made the young disciples of the Taixing sect turn pale as their hearts were filled with fear. Be careful, attack with all your might. Watch your heads. Several young men and women of the Taixing sect spoke. Yuan Qi formed under their feet and condensed into birds as they soared into the sky. Yuan Qi surged as they swung their weapons to block the birds. Pay attention to your defenses. An expert took the lead and rushed out to block the savage beasts that were pouncing towards them. Rumble. In an instant, Yuan Qi surged as a thunderous boom shook the valley. Although the young man and woman leading the group were only in their 30s, their cultivation and strength were not weak. A terrifying aura erupted from their every movement. In an instant, various Yuan Qi lights intertwined and blazed. Several auras seemed to have surpassed the origin spirit realm. Several young experts of the Taixing sect attacked and overturned a bird and several savage beasts. Blood splattered everywhere. Facing so many savage beasts, everyone attacked without holding back. Roar! On the huge rock, the Black Panther let out a low roar. Black light surged, and it immediately leaped down. With just 2 leaps, it pounced down with a terrifying aura. The man who spoke clenched his teeth. The spear in his hand was sharp and emitted a green light. The tip of the spear was filled with origin energy that wanted to break open the void and block the Black Panther. Roar! The Black Panther seemed to be fearless in the face of the sharp, long spear. As it swung its claws downwards, black light surged from the center of its claws. It seemed to have condensed into a black scale as it directly pressed downwards. Crack, crack. Under this kind of collision, the man's spear instantly shattered, as if it had suffered an enormous force of 10,000 kilograms. His body was also instantly blasted away, and he staggered backwards before heavily smashing into the ground. Low in the air, a delicate and beautiful woman let out a miserable shriek. She was also sent flying by a ferocious bird. The Yuan Qi beneath her feet dissipated as she fell heavily to the ground. Puqi, the 2 of them crashed to the ground, and blood immediately spurted out from their mouths. They had suffered heavy injuries from a single strike. Bam, 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 bam. At the same time, the other savage beasts and the Taixing sect disciples also collided with each other. Instantly, a muffled sound like thunder, and some of them were directly sent flying. However, these young disciples of the Taixing sect did not panic. Instead, they joined forces to defend themselves, and they managed to slow down the momentum of the dozens of savage beasts. Roar! The Black Panther landed on the ground, but it was still staring at the man who had fallen to the ground. Its eyes were filled with killing intent, and its sharp claws slashed down. The fierce wind wreaked havoc, and wherever it passed, cracks appeared on the ground. Not good! The man's eyes trembled. Although he had also reached the Yuan True realm, this Black Panther was at the 6th level of the Yao True realm. He had only recently stepped into the Yuan True realm, and he knew that he was no match for it. Shinkich version, El Hair, bastard, you're courting death. A fierce roar sounded, and a figure suddenly appeared in front of the man. A palm print was sent out, and it landed on the Black Panther's claws like a ghost. Boom! The energy clashed, and the Yuan Qi light burst out. The black light on the Black Panther's claws was shattered, and then the claws cracked. Blood splattered, and its huge body directly fell to the ground. Whoosh! The figure did not stop. Suddenly, a treasure sword appeared in his hand, and a sword light flew out, piercing through the void, and slashed towards the savage beast that was pouncing on the beautiful and curvaceous woman. Whoosh! The sword light seemed to have materialized, and it pierced through the void as fast as lightning. The savage beast could not avoid it at all. It spread its wings to attack, but the sword light cut through it, and one of its wings was cut off. Blood splattered, and it immediately fell to the ground. The 2 leading Yao True Realm savage beasts were unable to withstand a single blow. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The figure did not stop. His figure was like lightning, and he shuttled through the valley. In the blink of an eye, a few more sword lights were sent out. Oh, a few powerful savage beasts were beheaded, and blood splattered everywhere as they fell to the ground. Bai Ling waved the treasure sword in her hand, and she was fighting with a savage wolf. She was surrounded by danger, and her face was solemn. Whoosh, a sword light flew, and the savage wolf fell to the ground. A figure immediately appeared beside Bai Ling. It was a middle-aged man with a slender figure, handsome face, and long hair. When he was young, he must have been a handsome man. When she saw the man in front of her, Bai Ling's solemn face immediately revealed a look of surprise, and she said, "Second uncle, are you all right?" Bai Zhangxian smiled, and with a backhand slash, another savage beast that was fighting with Ian not far away fell into a pool of blood again. "Second uncle, I'm fine. But if you hadn't come, we would have been in big trouble." Bai Ling's heart was still beating fast. Fortunately, her second uncle had arrived in time. "Elder Bai is here. Great, Elder Bai is here." With Bai Zhangxian's appearance, there were cheers from all around. "Kill." Bai Zhangxian's figure moved horizontally again, and he arrived in front of the heavily injured savage beast leader. His body rose into the air, and there was no yuan qi under his feet. He stood in the air, and with a slash of his sword, the savage beast was instantly killed. In a few moves, the two leading savage beasts were killed, and the savage beast experts at the front were also taken care of, and they all fell into a pool of blood. The remaining savage beasts were not stupid. They were terrified, and in an instant, they fled in panic. "Elder Bai." As the savage beasts fled in panic, the heavily injured young man and the delicate and curvaceous woman also came to Bai Zhangxian's side. Their eyes were filled with surprise, but there was still a lingering fear. "Elder Bai." Chapter 141. The elder in front of him was the youngest intersect elder in the Taixing sect in the past 1,000 years. His cultivation was unfathomable. It was rumored that he had already stepped into the Origin Emperor realm. Even in the entire continent of the One Mountain, 2 religions, 3 sects, and 4 factions, they were all famous existences. When they were young, they were already the top existences of their generation. Their talent was unparalleled. Those who are injured need to recover as soon as possible. Bai Zhangxian looked at the disciples around him and frowned. There were a few who were heavily injured, and many who had light injuries. The remaining few who weren't injured were all panting and in a sorry state. "Elder Bai, we have only been in the great barbaric demon canyon for a few days. How did a demon true realm savage beast appear?" The heavily injured young man asked. According to the information he received, although the Great Barbaric Demon Canyon was the passage to the Barbaric Demon Forest, only the depths of the Barbaric Demon Forest would have demon true realm savage beast experts. But now, they had only reached the periphery of the Great Barbaric Demon Canyon, and they had already encountered a demon true realm savage beast expert. All of this should be related to a demon emperor, Bai Zhangxian said. The sword in his hand disappeared, and he raised his eyebrows. Demon emperor. Hearing these 2 words, the Taixing sect disciples couldn't help but tremble. Demon Emperor realm. That was too powerful. When the time came, only Elder Bai would be able to contend against it. They wouldn't even have the qualifications to be affected. The Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng appeared in the Great Barbaric Demon Canyon. The Demon Emperors closest to this place should have already sensed it. They also won the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng. That's why so many savage beasts appeared in the Great Barbaric Demon Canyon. Bai Zhangxian's eyes narrowed. With his status in the Taixing sect, it wasn't difficult for him to get a Huang-grade medicinal pill. But this time, he had some use for the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng. Moreover, it was a Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng that had unlocked its intelligence. But now, there were already Demon Emperor realm demonic beasts that had sensed it. There were also other experts who were searching for the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng in the Great Barbaric Demon Canyon. It seemed that it wouldn't be easy for anyone to obtain the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng. "Second uncle, is the news about the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng true?" Bai Ling said. Second uncle had already entered the Great Barbaric Yao Canyon a few days in advance, so he should have confirmed the news of the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng. Speaking of the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng, she couldn't help but think of that strange young man. He seemed to be very interested in the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng. He wouldn't be in the Great Barbaric Yao Canyon right now, right? Joked Guyen, and the others still hated him to the core. 1. The news about the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng should be true. It has already reached the demon illusionary realm. It knows that many experts are looking for it, so it has gone into hiding, said by Zhangqian. Elder, the Blood Jasper Spirit Ginseng, seems to be very good at hiding. It won't be easy to find it. Asked a strong cultivator from the Taixing clan. A spirit medicine, like the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng, was born with the ability to hide. It was not easy to find it. That's not necessarily true. Bai Zhangqian smiled and said, according to the news from various sources, although the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng has broken through to the demon illusionary realm, it was disturbed when it broke through. It hasn't succeeded yet. Calculating the time, if the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng doesn't pass the tribulation in the next few days, its demon illusionary realm cultivation will directly regress. If it wants to break through again next time, it will be even more difficult. After pausing for a moment, Bai Zhangqian's expression changed slightly. He sighed and said, so, no matter what, the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng will appear in the next few days. At that time, there will be a fierce battle. After a while, on the towering mountain peak, the disciples of the Taixing clan took medicinal pills and began to heal their injuries and adjust their breathing. The young leaders of the Taixing clan were even more injured. After taking medicinal pills, they sat down cross-legged and began to circulate their cultivation techniques. Light surged around their bodies and spread out. Their auras were astonishing. Bai Zhangqian was guarding the disciples of the Taixing clan. This time, he received news about the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng, so he came to the Great Barbarian Demon Canyon. It just so happened that a group of Taixing clan's direct disciples needed to go out and temper themselves. This responsibility was passed to him. There could not be any accidents. This was the foundation of the Taixing clan. In a few decades, these young disciples would grow into the backbone of the Taixing clan. Second uncle, are we going to go deeper into the Great Barbarian Demon Canyon? Bai Ling was not in a hurry to heal her injuries. Her injuries were not serious. She went to Bai Zhangqian and asked, according to the level of the savage beasts they had encountered today, if they went deeper, they would encounter even stronger savage beasts. Bai Zhangqian smiled. He had loved this niece of his since she was young. He handed a medicinal pill to Bai Ling and said, just wait here for a few days. Thank you, second uncle. Bai Ling did not stand on ceremony. She pursed her lips and smiled. Ever since she was young, her relationship with this second uncle was even better than her relationship with her father. Heal your injuries. If the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng appears, you guys should stay as far away as possible. With your cultivation base, you won't be able to do anything. Bai Zhangqian looked ahead, his eyes deep. The Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng won't dare to go into the barbarian demon forest. Then it's very likely that it will only be around here. The forest was in a mess. The towering trees were broken, and a fierce bear that was no less than 2 zhang tall was lying on the ground. Its thick skin and thick flesh were flowing with blood. Its body was covered with numerous knife scars that were so deep that the bones could be seen. Blood was flowing everywhere. 208. So he put away his blade. After 10 days, he had already killed 208 savage beasts in the Great Barbarian Demon Canyon. However, during these 10 days, he did not go too deep into the Great Barbarian Demon Canyon. The level of the savage beasts inside was getting higher and higher. He even encountered several Demon Spirit Realm savage beasts. Facing a Demon Spirit Realm savage beast, he had no chance of winning. He could only use the Origin Supreme art to scare the savage beasts away. He finally understood why those mercenary groups and adventurers didn't dare to rashly enter the Great Barbaric Demon Canyon. If it wasn't for the fact that Primordial Chaos Sovereign seemed to have a deterrent effect on the savage beasts, he wouldn't have been able to last until now in the Great Barbaric Demon Canyon. During these 10 days, he tempered himself during the day. He practiced the Mad Dragon's 3 blades, the 7 injuring fist, and other martial arts. Occasionally, he would use the broken heavy sword on his back to practice. Of course, he did not forget to practice the art of driving the heavens. He had always valued the identity of a soul controller. However, in the barbarian demon forest, the identity of a soul controller was not very suitable. He knew that what he lacked the most right now was the most basic training. At night, he searched for a place to enter the mysterious space to cultivate. Chapter 142. But this kind of tempering life and death trials and crisis after crisis brought an incomparable feeling and experience. The harvest was huge. Night stars dotted the sky. Ancient vines densely covered the canyon. In a hidden crevice, light filled the air, and the aura was boundless. In the mysterious space, rich energy fluctuated. He took off his cloak and mask, sat cross-legged, and condensed a hand seal. His whole body seemed to be enveloped in a layer of divine brilliance. For some unknown reason, Yi's skin was still as warm as jade, giving off a kind of translucent feeling. However, there was an additional sharpness to his face. Like a blade, there was no blood, but it made people feel the bloody aura. Roar. At some unknown time, the roar of a beast came from the mysterious space. An astonishing aura spread out, shaking people's souls. Cliff broken wall. The moonlight was like gauze, enveloping the wilderness, and the distant mountain range was hazy. Looking from afar, it looked like a creeping, fierce beast. A dozen figures appeared on the broken wall, and the aura on their bodies was fierce. If Yi was here at this moment, he would probably recognize 2 familiar figures. They were Elder Bai and Elder Yu of the Black Fiend sect. But at this moment, Elder Bai and Elder Yu were standing behind a black-clothed old man with a respectful expression. The black-clothed old man had an eagle nose and a wide forehead. His complexion was as white as a woman's, and his eyes flickered with a sharp light. Wait, the blood jasper spirit ginseng won't be able to hide for long. It will come out to face the tribulation, otherwise its realm will regress, and it will be even more difficult to break through in the future. The eagle nose and wide forehead black-clothed old man's voice was faint. Elder Yi, the people of the Wild Dragon Mercenary Alliance and the Blood God sect have also come. I'm afraid they're also here for the blood jasper spirit ginseng, Elder Bai said with a slightly serious expression. With the participation of the Wild Dragon Mercenary Alliance and the Blood God sect, the difficulty of fighting for the blood jasper spirit ginseng had undoubtedly increased by a lot. We have received news that they have come. This is not strange. I'm afraid there are also people from many other forces who have come. The black-clothed old man called Elder Ye's expression did not change, but the gaze in his eyes became a little sharper. Under the moonlight, a special kind of fog filled the air. It was suffused with wisps of blood-red color, making the bright moon in the sky look like a blood moon. At this moment, there were several figures standing on top of the cliff. Under the moonlight, several figures were surrounded by a kind of faintly discernible blood-colored radiance, suffused with an inexplicable bloody aura. The Black Fiend sect, the Mercenary Alliance, and many other experts are all nearby. It seems they've all sensed the blood jade spirit ginseng. In front of several figures, a middle-aged man in a dark red robe with long black hair draped over his shoulders said in a low voice as he looked at the bright moon in the sky with a faint blood-red glow in his eyes. Oh! At the top of the mountain, a low and deep beast roar echoed out. Several huge flying beasts landed on a towering tree at the top of the mountain. Their ferocious eyes were like copper bells as they scanned the surroundings. Dozens of figures stood at the top of the mountain. The invisible fierce aura made the surrounding air tense for no reason. This is interesting. The Black Fiend sect and the Blood God sect have also arrived. There are also many other people nearby. Looks like a fierce battle is inevitable. Someone said in a loud and clear voice. Walala. In a mysterious space, there was a dazzling light. He was sitting cross-legged. He did not know when it started, but the aura on his body was continuously increasing. Rumble. Within Su Yi's body, the Dantian's primal chi whirlpool was filled with primal chi. The primal chi whirlpool spun like a storm, emitting a low rumbling sound like wind and thunder. This continued for an unknown period of time. Su Yi's aura had already reached a new peak, as if it would erupt at any time. Bang! After a brief moment of silence, a muffled sound came from the Yuan Qi vortex in Su Yi's Dantian. It was accompanied by a wave of heaven and earth energy that suddenly surged from the surroundings. The vibration caused his hair to flutter and his clothes to flutter. The aura on his body also rose to a new level. At this moment, if there was an outsider present, they would definitely be shocked. The aura of a 9th-level soul essence realm martial artist was actually this powerful. Even a 1st-level soul essence realm martial artist would not be able to compare. After a long while, the powerful aura around Su Yi's body began to slowly calm down. Finally, it completely calmed down. Chi. When the aura on his body had completely calmed down, Su Yi, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly opened his tightly shut eyes. From his eyes, a dazzling light that seemed to have materialized exploded. Boom! At the same time, a new aura from Su Yi's body seemed to have awakened. It swept out instantly, carrying a great majestic and destructive power. His aura calmed down, and the light in his eyes flashed. Then it gradually converged into tenacity and depth. 9th-level soul essence realm. When everything calmed down, the corners of Su Yi's mouth curled up slightly, and he couldn't help but smile. The heavens did not disappoint those who worked hard. This period of tempering had paid off in the most practical manner. The 9th level of the essence soul realm. From the looks of it, it would not be too long before he reached the origin profound realm. Su Yi was very satisfied when he sensed the aura and changes within his body. Compared to an 8th-layer essence soul realm cultivator, his combat strength should have risen by a level. The abundant yuan power in his body and the comfortable spiritual strength in his mind gave him an incomparable sense of enjoyment and satisfaction. All positive, version J, initial, your roar. Lord, several savage beasts appeared in front of Su Yi. They were the fire gold tiger, the scarlet flame demon mink, the snow jade savage ape, the fiery savage bird, and the netherworld rat. Did you guys break through again? Su Yi looked at the 3 savage beasts in front of him. He felt that the aura of the 5 savage beasts seemed to have improved compared to when they first entered. Many thanks to Master for the elixir. We all broke through a level. The netherworld rat squeaked with joy. The 5 savage beasts had broken through another level. Good. Su Yi nodded in satisfaction. The elixir he bought was not in vain. Sweeping his gaze, Su Yi discovered that the golden python, silver spirit butterfly, white jade profound bird, and the others had yet to awaken. Their bodies were filled with light. Even Dabeo and Xiao Ling were still enveloped in a strange light, and their auras were fluctuating. Consume the spiritual liquid and continue your seclusion. Su Yi ordered the fiery savage tiger and the others to consume the spiritual liquid from the mysterious space. Although the fiery savage tiger and the others had broken through another level, from what Su Yi had come into contact with recently, the savage beasts in the barbaric demon Grand Canyon were getting stronger and stronger. The fiery savage tiger and the snow jade savage ape cultivation were still lacking. Chapter 143. $Q. A few hours later, on a cliff in a vast mountain valley, there were several towering trees that looked like ancient pines. They were verdant and ancient, like coiling dragons. At the bottom of the cliff, there was a green spirit herb that was flowing with a sparkling luster and exuding a tempting fragrance. Green profound grass. Su Yi appeared at the bottom of the cliff, his eyes shining. The green profound grass was a very high-level spirit herb. It was the main material used to refine many moon-grade high-tier elixirs. Its entire body was green and dazzling. It was born by absorbing the spirit energy of heaven and earth. It was very rare. My luck is good. He was very satisfied. He had picked a lot of spirit herbs along the way, but it was the first time he had picked a spirit herb like green profound grass. Su-yi immediately prepared to climb up the cliff and pluck it. Suddenly, just as Su-yi was about to reach the green profound grass, he felt his body tighten and his hair stand on end. Who is it? At the same time, Su-yi abruptly raised his head and discovered that a figure had appeared above and was looking down at him. Su-yi saw a young girl, about 14 or 15 years old, with snow-white skin and pink skin that seemed to be able to squeeze water out of her skin. The young girl's temperament was as elegant as an orchid. Her black hair danced in the wind, exuding a fragrance. Her waist was slender, and her limbs were long and slender. She had the temperament of a fairy. However, when a young girl looked at Su-yi, her eyes made Su-yi's heart turn cold, as if it was covered in frost, and the blood in his body began to fluctuate. "What are you looking at?" The young girl spoke, staring at Su-yi. Her eyes that caused Su-yi's heart to be shrouded in frost for no reason had a smile in them. Her red lips seemed to be smiling, and her long hair flowed down to her slender waist, fluttering in the wind. She exuded a unique fragrance, as if she was a fairy left behind in this ancient canyon. "Because you're good-looking," Su-yi replied. This was the truth. Although this little girl's appearance was not necessarily better than Lu Ruoshi, Bai Ling, and the other girls, her temperament and inexplicable smell were unforgettable. It was very impactful. "Is that so? I also think I'm good-looking." The young girl smiled faintly. Her smile was alluring. Boom! However, at the same time that the young girl smiled, she stomped her foot down and a surge of profound energy surged. Immediately, the cliff collapsed and the cracks climbed up. The surrounding rocks were like a flash flood as they surged towards Su-yi with a rumbling sound. This was too sudden. The rocks on the surrounding mountain walls weighed at least a few dozen kilograms, while the heavier ones weighed hundreds and thousands of kilograms. There was no lack of boulders that weighed more than 10,000 kilograms. The young girl on the cliff had caused the entire mountain to collapse with a single stomp of her foot. She wanted to smash Su-yi down, which proved that her strength was not ordinary. Su-yi did not expect this young girl to be so sinister and vicious. Crash! The surrounding mountain collapsed, and huge rocks rolled. The momentum was extremely shocking. Su-yi did not care about the Qing grass. He used the Xiao 100 transformation steps, and the qi in his body surged. Suddenly, his figure jumped in the chaotic world. Su-yi's body quickly dodged. Although he avoided many huge rocks, he could not avoid being hit by many small rocks. Rumble. Amidst the tumbling rocks, Su-yi was in a sorry state. Even his cloak and mask had been smashed off, and his body had taken several hits. If Su-yi's body was not strong, and he had the qi to protect his body, he would have been in a terrible situation. Even so, Su-yi's hair was disheveled, and his face was bruised and swollen. At this moment, the young girl on the cliff had already plucked the Qing grass. She looked at Su-yi, who had fallen down the cliff, with a slightly surprised expression. He seemed to have noticed it earlier and was surprised that Su-yi was able to avoid so many falling rocks so easily. However, when she saw Su-yi, whose cloak and mask were smashed, the young girl's eyes lit up with a special light. She said, "I really did not expect to meet you here. You were the one who killed that Yo Hikami from the Black Fiend sect, right?" Su-yi was about to argue with the young girl, but when he heard this, his expression suddenly tensed up. It seemed that the Black Fiend sect's bounty was quite effective. He was already in the Barbarian Demon Grand Canyon, but he was still recognized. "You got the wrong person. There might also be experts from the Black Fiend sect here." Su-yi did not want to cause trouble and did not plan to argue. It was better to escape first. "How could I be wrong? I've seen your portrait. It said that the Black Fiend sect's bounty was not able to capture you, and you escaped several times. It seems that you have some strength." The young girl said indifferently. She was sure that he was Su-yi, and her eyes curiously sized up Su-yi. "I said you got the wrong person." Su-yi shook his head. He did not want to be entangled and planned to leave. "You want to leave?" Seeing that Su-yi was about to leave, the young girl raised her eyes and stomped her foot again. This time, the young girl's foot seemed to be stronger than the previous one. Yuan-chi surged, and a large area of the cliff cracked. The surrounding rocks tumbled down, and with a rumbling sound, they covered the sky and covered the earth as they fell towards Su-yi, as if they wanted to drown Su-yi. "Little bitch, I'm not done with you." Su-yi was angry. This young girl was not old, but she was really vicious and merciless. However, Su-yi did not have time to think. Yuan-chi surged under his feet, and he used the Fuyao's 100 transformation steps, constantly dodging the huge rocks. In the end, relying on the Fuyao's 100 transformation steps and some luck, Su-yi finally rushed out of the area covered by the falling rocks. However, it was inevitable that his face was even more bruised and swollen, and he looked even more miserable. "Seems like your movement technique is not bad." At the same time, the young girl's figure appeared like a ghost not far from Su-yi's side. She stood on a huge rock, secretly blocking Su-yi's path. Her eyes curiously sized up Su-yi, and for no reason, an aura fluctuated, causing people's hearts to tremble. "Right? What do you mean by little bitch?" the young girl asked. This was the first time she had heard it, but he could guess that it was not a good thing. "It means you're very beautiful," Su-yi said unhappily, his heart on guard. This girl's origin was mysterious. He did not know if she had a strong backer or if she was strong herself. But no matter which of these two reasons it was, Su-yi knew that it was extremely unfavorable for him. "Really? But I don't believe it. Are you a little bitch?" The young girl's eyes were harmless, and she looked at Su-yi seriously. Su-yi was stunned, and then he replied unhappily. So this girl was teasing him. He immediately cursed. "You're the little bitch. Your whole family are little bitches." Chapter 144. The girl stared at Su-yi, her expression becoming a bit colder. Her slender and graceful body slowly emitted powerful fluctuations, and a terrifying aura surged forward like a wave. Su-yi's face immediately became gloomy, and his eyes became sharp and deep. Since he couldn't avoid it, he could only go all out. This girl didn't seem very old. As a dignified man, and a reborn man at that, could it be that he really couldn't beat a little girl? Unspecified currency genuine first release. I'll let you make the first move, so you won't say I'm bullying you. The girl looked at Su-yi's disheveled hair and swollen face. She seemed very magnanimous and wanted to have a fair fight. She didn't want to take advantage of Su-yi, so she let Su-yi make the first move. Su-yi didn't make a move. He was vigilant. This little girl was very strange, and he didn't know her true goal. "What are you waiting for? If I make a move, you won't even have the strength to fight back." The young girl looked at Su-yi and said seriously, but there was a hint of disdain and arrogance in her eyes. "Little bitch, I have no enmity with you, and I don't want the azure profound grass anymore. Why do you have to make a move? If you keep causing trouble like this, aren't you afraid that when you grow up, no man will want you?" Su-yi's face darkened, and his expression was very unsightly. The girl stood on the rock, stunned. Her beautiful face was a bit dazed. What was this little brat saying? He actually dared to ridicule her, and even dared to curse her. "You're the little bitch. You actually dare to curse me." The girl couldn't bear it any longer. Her yuan-chi surged, shaking the ground. Her graceful figure seemed to be too weak to even stand up to a gust of wind, but who knew how much power it contained? It swept up the surrounding sand and stones, and a scarlet light surged, emitting a blazing color. Then it swept towards Su-yi. The girl was furious. When had anyone dared to ridicule her like this, and even said that no man would want her in the future? In her heart, other than a man like her father, no man under the heavens was worthy of her. "Let me see if you have the strength to kill Yohikami." The girl shouted, and in a flash jumped down from the rock. A scarlet aura like a wave, blazing and astonishing, instantly rushed towards Su-yi. In the blink of an eye, the girl's beautiful figure appeared in front of Su-yi. Her slender and fair fingers clenched into a fist. Her fist was wrapped in blazing fire, a tribute Yuan Qi, and she directly blasted it towards Su Yi. This punch was very powerful, bringing with it a blazing storm. Sand and stones flew in all directions, dust surged, and a lot of gravel flew up. Very fast and very strong. Su Yi was very surprised. This girl was so young, but her strength was so strong. Out, it's out, see. Out's originally battered, his sow black, and his originally his sets bruised and swollen black, his face, messy black hairs outs, and it. Overlord fist. Knowing the girl's strength, Su Yi did not dare to be careless. With a shout in his heart, he directly activated the Overlord fist. Su Yi shook his arm and clenched it into a fist. Within his fist, a terrifying Yuan Qi power erupted like a volcano. Light shone brightly, and it seemed as if his fist had swelled up. There was a clear sound of wind and thunder, like the sound of thunder, rumbling. It was as if an overlord had awakened, and an emperor had descended. In the next moment, the two fists collided. There was a feeling of the surrounding space fluctuating, and an unusually violent energy suddenly exploded when Su Yi and the girl's fists collided. Bang, bang! A huge gust of wind formed a wave of air, and like a storm, it directly shot out. The wind swept out, and like a storm, it produced a muffled and astonishing sound, like a thunderclap exploding. Thump, thump. Upon contact, Su Yi's footsteps staggered, and he was directly shaken back more than 10 steps. The gravel under his feet was also crushed into powder. As for the girl, she only took a small step back, but her eyes were already filled with shock. Then, the girl's eyes suddenly widened, and she immediately stepped forward. Her figure was very fast, and her delicate hands were forming a handprint, which was quickly intertwined with Yuan Qi fluctuations. Seeing the girl come at him again in an instant, Su Yi's figure had not yet stabilized and naturally could not dodge again. However, Su Yi was not afraid. The eyes under his sword-like eyebrows were shining, and a scarlet light had unknowingly gushed out. That domineering and majestic aura was becoming more and more intense. That kind of aura seemed to make the girl feel a strange aura, and she was inwardly moved. However, the girl's hand movements did not stop. A handprint condensed, emitting light like a burning flame, and directly slapped towards Su Yi's chest. Su Yi's expression did not change, and he quickly made a move. Fire attribute Yuan Qi erupted, and like the former, it was as if a flame had spread in front of the handprint. Around the handprint, the blazing aura made the surrounding air seem to be burning, causing people's skin to burn and their hair to stand on end. Scarlet flame palm. Su Yi also met it with a palm. Thump! The two palms collided again, and suddenly a muffled explosion sounded. Walala! A huge, blazing airflow was compressed, and then it expanded, exploding like a bomb. An aura like a small volcanic eruption exploded, and the airflow was like a small tornado surging. Thump! This time, Su Yi was even more miserable. That blazing force swept out, and his body was directly shaken back. Puff! It seemed that because of the weight of the 1,000-pound broken sword on his back, he fell to the ground less than 10 feet away. The chi and blood in his body were in turmoil, and he could not help but spit out a strand of blood from the corner of his mouth. So you're only at the essence soul realm. The young girl knew Su Yi's cultivation level. Just now, Su Yi had used all his strength, and the aura of a 9th-level essence soul realm cultivator was not held back. As her voice fell, the young girl's charming face did not change, and there was a playful smile on her face. In an instant, she followed Su Yi to his side. The young girl quickly made a move, and the palm of her hand changed. There was a flash of light, and the aura was blazing. Then, several rays of light instantly enveloped Su Yi. Swish, swish, several rays of light fell, and the Yuan Qi in Su Yi's body suddenly stagnated. Before he could react, he was captured. Boy, did you really kill Yohikami? It seems unlikely. The young girl was a little skeptical. Yohikami's strength did not seem to be so low. I already said that I'm not. Su-yi said, feeling very sullen in his heart. But at this time, he could only pretend to be a coward. Falling into the hands of others, he seemed to have no other choice. You're so dishonest, so you shouldn't be a good person. Yohikami is arrogant and insufferably arrogant, so he might have fallen into your hands, the young girl said. She had her own opinion and did not believe Su-yi's words at all. What do you want? Su-yi felt even more sullen. Don't worry, I'm in a good mood today, so I won't kill you, the young girl said very seriously. But just like time, on that beautiful face of hers, there is a trace of craftiness in those harmless eyes. She leaned down and searched Su-yi's clothes for a while and took out all of Su-yi's space bags. Oh, you actually have so many space bags. As expected, you're not a good person. I'm just doing justice for the heavens and getting rid of evil for the people. Chapter 145. It was obvious that Su-yi wasn't the only one with so many spatial bags. This was the barbarian demon forest. Everyone knew where these spatial bags came from. The girl was like a female bodhisattva, with a serious and compassionate look on her face. She took Su-yi's spatial bags without any hesitation. Then, she looked at Su-yi and said seriously, I've sealed your meridians. It should be undone in a day or two. If you don't encounter any savage beasts, you should be able to live. If you do, then even if the heavens want to destroy you, I won't be able to save you. It all depends on whether you're a good person or a bad person. As soon as she finished speaking, the young girl smiled and left in satisfaction. Don't fall into my hands. Don't let me see you again, Su-yi cursed. How could this girl be so shameless? She was so serious about being shameless. The girl didn't pay any attention to Su-yi. Her beautiful figure gradually disappeared from Su-yi's sight. Su-yi felt helpless. He was under the control of others. Although there were several powerful savage beasts in the mysterious space, he couldn't summon them in time. At this moment, Su-yi was sealed by the restriction. He couldn't summon the mysterious space. Boom! After the girl left, Su-yi began to activate the Origin Supreme technique. He began to break the restriction in his body. It was the same in the Black Fiend's sex mine. Su-yi was familiar with it. However, if Su-yi wanted to break the seal now, it would take some time. Time slowly passed. Everything in the surroundings became quiet. It was as if nothing had happened. Only Su-yi was thrown to the ground. He was breaking the restriction in his body. Su-yi felt very sullen. His heart ached even more. All of his spatial bags had been plundered by the girl, including the remaining primeval stones from the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Su-yi couldn't bear to let the mysterious space absorb those primeval stones. He wanted to keep them with him in case he needed them. If he had known this would happen, he would have let the mysterious space absorb them. Thinking of this, Su-yi's heart ached even more. It was Su-yi who had been robbing others. It wasn't easy for him to accumulate some wealth after a narrow escape. But now, all of his accumulated wealth had been plundered by someone else. And it was plundered by a little girl. The more Su-yi thought about it, the angrier he became. Little liar, when I see you again, I'll strip you naked and feed you to the savage beasts, Su-yi's heart. But on second thought, Su-yi thought, why did he have to strip her naked and feed her to the beasts? She could have just left her naked. Strip, Su-yi muttered. Calm at night. The moonlight shrouded the land. Occasionally, the roars of beasts could be heard in the distance. Chi-la. With the Origin Supreme technique, the last bit of the seal was broken. Su-yi's eyes moved slightly, and he immediately struggled to get up. SSSSSS. Half an hour later, in a mountain range, Su-yi appeared in a natural cave on an inconspicuous mountain and called out the mysterious space. Fortunately, all of the elixirs he had on him were stored in the mysterious space. After taking a healing elixir, Su-yi sat cross-legged and began to refine the elixir. In the mysterious space, several savage beasts were still cultivating. Light flickered. Time passed slowly. Late at night, no one saw that on a mountain beside Su-yi, a crack suddenly appeared on the ground. Without a sound, a wisp of green-red light was emitted. The light flickered. Then, a gentle green and red light jumped out from the crack in the ground. The light was the size of a baby. Looking at it carefully, it was actually a big radish. Strictly speaking, it wasn't a radish. It was just too similar to a radish. It was shaped like a radish. The roots were covered with dense, thin whiskers, which were also suffused with a green and red color. There were a few green leaves on the top of its head. They were the size of a palm and were crystal clear. Such a radish appeared on the mountain where Su-E was recuperating. Light flickered on its body. It seemed to reveal two eyes, which were looking around cautiously. All of this was extremely strange. At this moment, Su-E, who was recuperating in a mysterious space in the cave, would jump up in shock if he saw a walking radish walking on the mountain beside him. The radish appeared and looked at the bright moon in the sky. The green leaves on the top of its head stretched out and absorbed the moonlight. It seemed to be absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. After a while, light flickered in the radish's eyes, as if it was waiting for something. Not long after, a black cloud suddenly appeared in the void in front of it. The black cloud spread out and quietly covered the bright moon, causing the earth to sink into darkness. When the black cloud appeared, the radish's eyes were filled with seriousness and fear. Boom! Suddenly, the void trembled for no reason. P. Most new OX chapter $supra asterisk fat this moment. All of the savage beasts in the surrounding mountains seemed to have sensed something. All of a sudden, the entire place fell silent. The atmosphere between the heavens and the earth became incomparably oppressive at this moment. Swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, in several places in the Great Barbaric Demon Canyon, there were several figures looking at the void at the same time. High up in the sky, the black cloud became thicker and thicker. It was piling up in a certain place. What's going on? Such a strong pressure. Under the shocking pressure, more and more eyes were looking at the void. That invisible and shocking pressure spread out, causing people's souls to tremble uncontrollably. Swoosh, swoosh. Everyone's eyes involuntarily looked at the void. At this moment, thick black clouds gathered in the void, and a huge thundercloud appeared out of nowhere. Sizzle. The thundercloud surged, and lightning flashed, illuminating the dark world. The entire sky was split apart, and the dazzling thundercloud occupied it. The thundercloud was different from ordinary thunderclouds. There was a strong lightning pressure spreading out from it. In an instant, the pressure caused the hearts of all the people and savage beasts in the area to palpitate. Their hair stood on end, and a chill rose in their hearts. Thundercloud. Why are there thunderclouds? What's going on? Within the Great Barbarian Demon Canyon, many people's gazes were trembling because of the sudden appearance of the thundercloud. Many gazes looked at the void, and many figures started to tremble. Chapter 146. In the valley, a group of Taixing sect disciples were startled. They all looked at the distant void, and their faces changed greatly. It finally appeared. Bai Zhongxian stood with his hands behind his back. His figure was slender, and his long hair fluttered in the night wind. Lightning flashed in the distance, adding sharpness. Cliff, broken wall. The hazy mountain range in the distance was faintly discernible under the flickering lightning. A dozen figures appeared on the broken wall. Their auras were fierce. Among them were Elder Bai and Elder Yu from the Black Fiend sect. The blood jade spirit ginseng can't be hidden anymore. A black-clothed old man with a broad forehead and a hawk-like nose stared at the distant lightning with a sharp glint in his eyes. On the cliff, lightning flashed in the distance. The air was filled with a special blood-colored mist, which was even more horrifying. Several figures stood there, surrounded by a faint blood-colored radiance. They were suffused with a horrifying bloody aura. It appeared. A middle-aged man in a dark red robe with long black hair said in a low voice. His eyes were filled with a faint blood-colored radiance as he looked at the bright moon in the sky. On the mountaintop, several huge birds landed on a towering tree. Their fierce eyes were like copper bells. At this moment, for some reason, they were as silent as cicadas in winter, and their bodies were trembling. However, there were dozens of figures standing on a mountaintop. Their invisible auras were fierce, making the surrounding air tense. I wonder who will get the blood jade spirit ginseng in the end. Let's wait and see, someone said in a loud voice. J-head, L-hair, Sake. On the mountaintop, several figures stood. The first beautiful figure was wearing a cloak and a white veil over her face. She was wearing a light purple dress, which vividly outlined her graceful figure. Behind this figure was a man in his 50s. He was dressed in ordinary clothes, and half of his black hair was bald. He was very eye-catching. There was also a woman in her 50s. She was wearing a plain long dress. The woman's hair was tied up in a bun, and there were faint wrinkles on her face. She stood quietly behind the figure wearing a cloak and a white veil. If Sui was here, he would definitely recognize him. These were the people from the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Attendant Wu was among them, and the one at the front was the woman who called herself Lanbalian. The Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng really did appear. This is just an elementary tribulation. Lan Yelian raised her head slightly as she spoke. Her long hair was slanted on her soft and boneless waist, making her look even more alluring. That's right, it's only the initial tribulation, but there aren't many savage beasts that can successfully pass it. Not to mention a spiritual item like the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng, which is even more difficult, said the plain-clothed woman. Heaven and earth seem to be a little unfair to savage beasts and spiritual creatures of heaven and earth, Administrator Wu said softly. Deacon Wu's words are wrong. Lan Linglian smiled faintly and said, regardless of whether it is a savage beast or a spiritual being of the heavens and earth, although they have to undergo the tribulation at the demonic illusionary realm, once they succeed, they will be much stronger than us humans at the same level of cultivation. In this world, the heavenly Tao circulated. Any heaven-defying object that appeared in this world would naturally attract heavenly tribulation to destroy it. If one could avoid it, then it would exist in this world. If one couldn't, then it would vanish. Aren't we humans the same? Rumor has it that if we want to become a true expert, then we still have to escape from the tribulation. You're right, Fairy. Attendant Wu smiled bitterly. No wonder the rumors in the pavilion said that this fairy was different. It was indeed so. From the looks of it, they can't sit still anymore, right? The plain-clothed woman looked around and said, although this is the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng's initial tribulation, no one will interfere. They don't dare to provoke the karma. I'm afraid that it will only become lively after this tribulation is over, said Lanbalian. With the appearance of the initial tribulation, no one would dare to get close. Once they were touched by the karma of the initial tribulation, then it would be a great disaster for themselves. Interfering with the tribulation was a heaven-defying action. It was even possible to forcefully draw out an even more terrifying tribulation. Sizzle! At the top of the mountain, the accumulated thunderclouds became denser and denser. The radish's body also began to emit a green-red light. Its entire body glowed, and it erupted with a kind of power. Boom! The green-red radish stood with its head held high. The emerald green leaves on top of its head suddenly expanded, as if it was expressing its unwillingness and resistance to the thunder and lightning. A huge amount of energy spread out from its body, and the edges of its body revealed a red light. The aura on its body revealed a kind of medicinal fragrance. If one smelled it, it would be enough to make one salivate. Boom! In an instant, amidst the thunderclouds, a dazzling thunder and lightning gathered. It was as if it connected the heavens and the earth. It was boundlessly terrifying, and it directly fell towards the green-red radish. This was a tribulation, not an ordinary thunder and lightning. It was a punishment from the heavens. Rumble, the matter was not over yet. With the radish as the center, the thunder and lightning erupted violently. It was endless, and it came from all directions. It crazily surged and crazily descended. What is that doing? It's too terrifying. In the distance, many gazes saw this shocking scene. It was the first time they had seen it, and they were indescribably shocked. This scene was too shocking. Under the majestic aura of thunder and lightning, there was the pressure of the heavens and the earth, as if it was going to destroy everything. Even though they were far away in the void, it was still so oppressive that everyone felt as if they could not breathe. Is this the blood jade spirit ginseng's tribulation? It's too terrifying. In the distance, within the Taking Sex lineup, all the disciples raised their heads and looked at the terrifying thunder and lightning falling. Their throats rolled, and they swallowed their saliva. Rumble, a large amount of thunder and lightning fell, enveloping all directions. It exploded the surrounding mountains, destroying everything. Some of the thunder and lightning fell on the radish's body, but it was blocked by its emerald green leaves. The seemingly weak emerald green leaves, however, erupted with a strange power, and it actually blocked several frightening thunder and lightning in succession. On top of the mountain, the rolling black clouds seemed to have been provoked. An abnormally frightening thunder and lightning suddenly emerged, and then it filled the entire sky. Sizzle. In a short instant, the rolling thunder clouds in the sky suddenly shrank. Bright silver lightning arcs gathered into thunderbolts, and as if it had pierced through space, it suddenly penetrated the clouds and descended towards the radish. Those thunderbolts were like silver pythons, and they rushed out from the thunderclouds, after which they tore through space, and with a frightening sizzle sound, they violently bombarded the green and red radish. Whoosh! There was fear in the green and red radish's eyes, but it did not retreat. Rich energy spread out from its body, and it directly resisted the thunderbolts. Rumble. Chapter 147. Far away, in the Taking Sex lineup, Bai Ling's eyes flickered as she looked into the distant void. Her expression was one of shock. She could sense the terrifying, suppressive aura from afar. She could not help but ask, this cardinal tribulation is so terrifying. Will the blood jade spirit ginseng be able to withstand it? The blood jade spirit ginseng wants to transcend the cardinal tribulation and officially step into the Fey Void realm. This is heaven-defying, be it humans, beasts, or any worldly spiritual creature. Cultivation is heaven-defying. In the end, they will be obstructed by tribulations. Only by withstanding one tribulation after another will they exist in this world. If they fail to withstand it, they will vanish. Bai Zhangxian said softly. He was responding to Bai Ling, as well as informing the shock-taking sect disciples around him. He said, the blood jade spirit ginseng is only at the cardinal tribulation. Although it will not be easy to transcend it, the heavenly Tao is fair. It will leave a sliver of a chance. If it withstands the cardinal tribulation, the blood jade spirit ginseng will be able to improve further. Only after withstanding the lightning tribulation can this item truly remain in this world, becoming a Fey Void realm blood jade spirit ginseng. Elder Bai, how many tribulations are there? When do we human experts need to transcend the tribulations? Ian asked Bai Zhangxian out of curiosity. Bai Zhangxian turned his head to look at Ian and said, the cardinal tribulation is the first tribulation that beasts and spiritual creatures face when they step into the Fey Void realm. After stepping into the Fey Void realm, they will receive the blessings of the heaven and earth, allowing beasts and spiritual creatures to speak the human tongue. And when they step into the Fey Sovereign realm, beasts and spiritual creatures will face a second metamorphosis tribulation. After successfully transcending the metamorphosis tribulation, beasts and spiritual creatures will officially become members of the Fey race. They will also be able to completely take human form. However, be it the cardinal tribulation or the metamorphosis tribulation, the number of beasts and spiritual creatures that can transcend it is less than 1 in 100. If they fail, their cultivation level will regress at best. It will be extremely difficult for them to improve any further. In serious cases, they will be severely injured or even reduced to ashes. As for the tribulations that human warriors need to transcend, it is still too early for all of you. If there comes a day when you're able to take that step, you will naturally know the tribulations you need to transcend. The Taking sect will do everything it can to prepare you for the tribulation. Is that so? Ian had a yearning look in his eyes. If he reached the stage where he needed to transcend the tribulations, what sort of terrifying strength would he possess? Chilala. In the distant sky, thunderclouds surged wildly. As the wind rose and the clouds surged, thick black clouds covered the sky. Lightning flashed and thunder roared. Bolts of lightning continuously landed on the radish's body. At this moment, the entire space was once again quietly darkened amidst the dazzling flashes of lightning and roars of thunder. It was as if the entire world had sunk into darkness without a sound. In the void, an invisible energy wave shook the entire canyon. Chila! Bolts of lightning continued to strike down from the thunderclouds above and landed on the body of the green and red radish. There were also many scattered lightning bolts that landed on the ground and mountains in the surroundings, destroying everything. Rumble! Several mountain tops in the surrounding area were enveloped by it. The mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. The earth quaked and the mountains swayed. Such momentum was like destruction, and it was terrifying to the extreme. Many cracks appeared on the body of the green and red radish, as if it was about to crack. The green leaves on the top of the radish were also covered by bright electric arcs. They were no longer green, as if they had been burned. They began to show signs of withering. Rumble! Another electric arc landed, sending the radish flying. It somersaulted a few times on the ground. Chilala! At this moment, more bolts of lightning came crashing down. The lightning aura seemed to be getting stronger. Following that, more bolts of lightning came crashing down, sending the strange radish flying. Chilala! The scattered lightning bolts in the surroundings caused the nearby mountains to crumble and the ground to crack. A large stretch of the canyon was flattened. Latest chapter, section /R part 1. Hualala. The green and red radish's body shimmered, but it was already dispirited. As the lightning bolts grew stronger, it was clearly unable to withstand them any longer. Chilala! Before the white radish could recover, another bolt of lightning came crashing down. The lightning tore through the void, shattering the mountain rocks. The white radish was sent flying once again. Its body was extremely dispirited, as if it was about to crack at any moment. Boom! At this moment, no one noticed it. At the center of the lightning, a mountaintop was raised to the ground by the lightning, revealing a miraculous brilliance. The dazzling radiance was hazy, emitting a dense and oppressive spiritual energy. It seemed to have isolated the space. The scattered lightning bolts continued to fall. However, when the radiance spread out, it seemed to have sensed the lightning bolts. Instantly, the radiance grew brighter, emitting a bright red glow. Boom! A domineering and majestic aura, like that of an emperor who could not be provoked, suddenly exploded. The scattered lightning bolts seemed to have sensed something. The bright lightning bolts seemed to have suddenly gained intelligence. They broke through the air and turned, not daring to get close to the hazy radiance. This was the lightning of heaven and earth, the lightning power of the initial tribulation. This was the lightning that could destroy everything and punish on behalf of the heavens. At this moment, facing the hazy radiance, it was deeply afraid. If someone were to see this scene clearly, who knew how shocked they would be? Chilala! The scattered lightning bolts did not dare to land on the hazy radiance, but they did not let go of the radish. The thundercloud continued to surge, and it continued to accumulate a terrifying destructive power towards the dying radish that was about to crack. It was about to descend once again. At this moment, the radish's eyes, which were like real eyes, looked at the mysterious hazy radiance. It seemed to have found a way out, like a life-saving straw in a flood. It had no other choice. It could not continue to resist the lightning bolts. Otherwise, it would be turned into ashes. Swoosh! Making a prompt decision, the radish used the last of its strength. Its body emitted light, and it rushed toward the mysterious hazy radiance. Rumble! As if it sensed that the radish wanted to retreat, the thunderclouds in the sky surged even more violently. Whoosh! Streaks of bright lightning bolts carrying a terrifying aura, rained down on the radish like a rainstorm. Swoosh, swoosh. The radish did not dare to stay. The aura of lightning behind it made it tremble in fear. It rushed toward the mysterious hazy radiance with all its might. Bang, bang, bang. Several bolts of lightning landed on Radish's body. In the midst of the danger, Radish fell headfirst into the mysterious and hazy radiance. Chilala. He was a little dumbfounded when he saw the mess outside. The mountains had collapsed, the ground was cracked, and the air was still filled with the aura of thunder and lightning. It seemed that this place had just been struck by lightning. Whoosh, whoosh. After he put away the mysterious space, in just a few breaths, the sound of wind breaking suddenly came from the surrounding void. He looked up. Under the moonlight, several figures appeared around him. Boom! In an instant, several powerful auras descended and suppressed the void for no reason. There was a dazzling light. These auras made feel a pressure that made him want to bend his knees. The auras were too powerful. This was the pressure from the realm. The primordial chi in his body surged. He stood tall and straight. He looked up at the void with an unyielding arrogance. In the void, several figures appeared out of nowhere. They stepped on the void instead of flying beasts formed by primordial chi. This proved that the lowest cultivation of these people was at least above the origin void realm. He had sensed the aura of a Yuan void stage expert before. However, the aura of the people before him was much stronger than the Black Fiend sex elder by Elder Yu and the mysterious woman he had met before. A middle-aged man with a slender figure and a handsome face. His long hair fell over his shoulders. His sharp eyes scanned the surroundings and immediately fell on a black-clothed old man with an eagle nose and a wide forehead. His face was as fair as a woman's. His eyes flickered with a sharp light. After scanning the surroundings, he also looked at and sized him up. A middle-aged man with long black hair in a dark red robe stared at as if he wanted to see through Roar! An old man in his 50s sat on a ferocious beast that was covered in yellow scales. It looked like a tiger or a lion. His aura was even more ferocious. He was also sizing up Immediately after, saw a familiar figure holding a big wine gourd. He stood in the void a little further away from the crowd. The figure looked to be in his 60s. He was thin but tall. He wore a black robe and had a pair of brown eyes that were deep in his eye sockets. Looking at Yi's figure, the eyes in the old man's eye sockets also flashed with surprise. It's him. Yi was secretly stunned. That old man was the one who insisted on drinking with him that night. He was indeed a terrifying expert. They can't all be Origin Void Realm experts, right? Sensing the aura of these people, Yi guessed in astonishment. They were much stronger than the Origin Void Realm experts that he had seen before. They gave off a more dangerous feeling. These people couldn't be the legendary Origin Void Realm experts, right? Kid, where's the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng? The black-clothed old man with an eagle nose and a wide forehead spoke first. What Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng? I don't know. He shook his head. These people really came for the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng. The Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng is undergoing tribulation here. You appeared here. How can you not know? The black-clothed old man stared coldly at Yi and asked. His eyes flashed with a cold light. An inexplicable pressure enveloped Yi's body. I was spending the night here. I don't know why, but suddenly, lightning fell from the sky and destroyed everything. I narrowly escaped death. I didn't see any Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng. If you don't believe me, you can search my body. Yi replied. He knew the purpose of these people. These were all absolutely terrifying experts. If they wanted to deal with him, it would be much easier than killing an ant. However, the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng was in the mysterious space. Even if it was for the mysterious space, Yi knew that he couldn't expose himself. Is that so? The black-clothed old man said coldly. His aura surged. When his voice was heard, his figure disappeared into thin air. Then I'll search you. When the last word was said, his voice had already reached Su Yi's ears. Swish. Chapter 149. A terrifying aura immediately erupted from it. Too strong. Su Yi wanted to retreat, but under the confinement of the aura, the surrounding space seemed to be frozen. The profound qi in his body stagnated, and he couldn't move at all. Is this the strength of an origin emperor? Su Yi was shocked. He could imprison him with just a simple move. The origin emperor was so strong that he couldn't even resist. Hey Ming, Black Fiend sect can't be too overbearing. Don't hurt this kid. We still have questions to ask. At the same time, such a voice sounded in Su Yi's ears. Gee, a figure appeared behind Su Yi. Under the moonlight, Su Yi's body was suddenly filled with a special kind of mist that was suffused with strands of blood. In an instant, the confinement around Su Yi disappeared. At the same time, a handprint fell on Su Yi's shoulder, and an invisible force suddenly pulled Su Yi's body back. The black-clothed old man's hand missed, and he immediately looked up with a gloomy expression. He stopped and said in a cold voice, "Blood Hand, what's the meaning of your blood god sect?" "Nothing. We're just afraid that you'll hurt this kid. We still have to ask this kid about the whereabouts of the blood jade spirit ginseng." The voice sounded in Su Yi's ears, and then he asked Su Yi, "Kid, you really didn't see the blood jade spirit ginseng?" Su Yi had already recovered, and he immediately turned around. A middle-aged man in a dark red robe with long black hair appeared in front of him. ZT, the soonest online ZT. Black Fiend sect, blood god sect. At the same time, Su Yi was shocked. The black-clothed old man was an expert from the Black Fiend sect, and he came from the blood god sect, which was also one of the top 3 forces in the barbaric demon forest. "I'm telling the truth, I didn't see the blood jade spirit ginseng." Su Yi shook his head. His expression was calm, and his eyes were firm. The jade blood spirit ginseng was a small matter, but if the mysterious space was exposed, it would be a disaster. The mysterious space must not be exposed. "Blood Hand, search that kid and see if he has the blood jade spirit ginseng." In the sky, an old man in his 50s was riding a ferocious beast covered in yellow scales that looked like a tiger or a lion. He glanced at Su Yi indifferently. The mysterious old man with a wine gourd was still standing in the distant void, watching everything that was happening. There was no fluctuation in his brown eyes. Shueshou, Hei Ming, and the rest had already quietly observed such an old man in the distance, quietly becoming cautious. Bai Zhangqian didn't react. He observed everything and scanned the surroundings as if he wanted to find some clues. "Kid, if you don't want to talk, then I'll have to search." The black-robed, middle-aged man called Blood Hand spoke. His eyes glowed with a faint blood-red light as he stared at Su Yi, as if he wanted to see through Su Yi. Without waiting for Su Yi to speak, Blood Hand directly searched Su Yi's body. Su Yi didn't dare to resist, nor could he resist. In front of such a group of experts, he was just an ant in front of an elephant. "I want to be strong." At this moment, Su Yi's blood was surging. If he was strong, these so-called experts wouldn't dare to search his body so unscrupulously in front of him. However, he was weak now. In front of these people, he was just an ant, not to mention not having to worry about them. He didn't even need to pay attention to them. At this moment, Su Yi's inner desire to become a powerhouse had reached its peak. Nothing. Soon, Blood Hand shook his head. He found nothing on Su Yi. With Blood Hand's cultivation, Su Yi couldn't hide anything on his body. Blood Hand didn't find any space bags either. It just so happened that all the space bags on Su Yi's body had been looted by the girl. Seeing Blood Hand shake his head, the surrounding people didn't seem too disappointed. Everyone could see that he was just a rookie. Even if he encountered the blood jasper spirit ginseng, it was impossible for him to obtain it. As he said, he just happened to be nearby and was affected by the blood jasper spirit ginseng's initial tribulation. Looking at his miserable appearance, it was indeed like a narrow escape. It was lucky that he didn't die. Whoosh whoosh woo. In the distance, many figures rushed over again. Some people's vitality formed under their feet and condensed into flying beasts. Some experts directly flew over in the air, while others rode on ferocious beasts. One of the groups had a large ship that was dozens of feet long. It was suffused with light, and its body was emitting light. It was engraved with mystic runes as it traversed the void. Many young disciples stood on it as they looked over curiously. Many of these groups landed behind Bloodhand, Ming, and an elder in his 50s who was riding a ferocious beast that was covered in yellow scales. It looked like a tiger or lion. And when these figures arrived, Su Yi's gaze swept across them, and his expression immediately changed. Su Yi discovered many familiar people. There were a few figures on the flying ship. They were Bai Ling, Su Yi, Zhou De, Wu Qingfeng, and Guiyan. Bai Ling, Su Yi, Zhou De, Wu Qingfeng, and company immediately recognized Su Yi. Enemies often cross paths. Immediately, Wu Qingfeng, Zhou De, and Guiyan's eyes burned with anger as they stared fiercely at Su Yi. Suddenly, Su Yi felt a sharp gaze land on him. Following the gaze, Su Yi immediately looked over and saw two familiar figures. They were none other than the Black Fiend sect's Elder Bai and Elder Yu, who he had met previously. It could be said that enemies often cross paths. They stared coldly at Su Yi. Following that, Elder Bai and Elder Yu whispered something into Ming's ear. "Search. That blood jasper spirit ginseng is definitely nearby. It can't run away." The elder in his 50s who was riding the ferocious beast said. Finding the blood jasper spirit ginseng was of utmost importance. Bloodhand by Zhangxian and company also planned on leaving. The blood jasper spirit ginseng was likely nearby. "Kid, you have really traveled far and wide in search of it, only to find it by chance. So you came to the great barbaric demon canyon. Follow me." Ming stared at Su Yi as a cold beam emitted from his eyes. He had nearly missed him. He had traveled far and wide in search of it, but he never expected to meet him here. Ming was wondering why such a kid would appear in the great barbaric demon canyon. So was this kid. Upon hearing Ming's words, Bloodhand by Zhangxian and company, who were about to leave, immediately stopped in their tracks. "Ming, I have already searched this kid. Do you not trust me?" Bloodhand said coldly. Ming did not plan on letting go of the person he had searched. This was no doubt a smack to his face, indicating that he did not trust him. "Bloodhand, this has nothing to do with you. This kid killed my Black Fiend sect's young sect master." Chapter 150. Curious gazes immediately fell on Su Yi, sizing him up. The news of the Black Fiend sect's young master being killed had already spread far and wide, even to the outside of the savage demon forest. It turned out that the young man in front of them was the one who killed the Black Fiend sect's young master. Su Yi's expression immediately darkened. Whatever he was afraid of, it would happen. He really did meet people from the Black Fiend sect. Elder Bai and Elder Yu were already experts at the Origin Void stage, and Ming was even more terrifying. Su Yi reckoned that he was most likely going to die today. Fight! At this point, Su Yi did not intend to give up without putting up a fight. There was no way to avoid or retreat, so he could only fight. Although Su Yi knew that his strength compared to the Black Fiend sect's experts was like an egg striking a rock. A firefly might not be able to compete with the moon, but at least it could still shine. In the Taixing sect, Bai Ling's expression darkened, and she looked nervous. Her beautiful figure landed beside Bai Zhangxian and whispered something to him, causing Bai Zhangxian to look at Su Yi, his expression changing inwardly. "Kid, surrender and get over here yourself." Ming opened his mouth and stared at Su Yi, but the contempt and disdain in his expression lessened. He had received news from the Black Fiend sect that this kid seemed to have a power that did not belong to him. Even Heijio was severely injured, which was why he was able to escape from Heijio. "I killed him, so I'm afraid I can't just sit there and wait to be captured. Young Master's Bones won't agree to that. If you have the ability, then come at me." Su Yi took a deep breath, and his vital energy surged. No matter what, he had to go all out. "Hee, you overestimate yourself." Ming was secretly stunned. The young man in front of him was still wet behind the ears, yet he did not seem to put him in his eyes. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and he was about to attack. Wait! Bai Zhangxian stepped out and shouted, attracting the attention of everyone. Even He Ming's expression changed. You must be from the Taixing sect. Who are you? He Ming's face was gloomy. He had already recognized the Taixing sect from the emblem on the spaceship. A mountain sect like this, one of the top 10 powers, was truly a colossus. Although the barbaric demon forest was a paradise for the Black Fiend School and the other 2 powers, He Ming had no choice but to be wary of the Taixing sect. Bai Zhangxian of the Taiyang sect. Bai Zhangxian spoke, stepping out with a graceful demeanor. Gale Sword by Zhangxian. Hearing this, everyone's eyes trembled. A person's name was like the shadow of a tree. Gale Sword by Zhangxian's name was definitely not an ordinary name. It was said that Bai Zhangxian, the Gale Sword, was the youngest inter-sect elder of the Taixing sect in the last 1,000 years. His cultivation base was unfathomable. In the entire continent, Bai Zhangxian was a famous figure. When he was young, he had once roamed the world with peerless talent and left behind a great reputation for himself. What does the Taixing sect want? He Ming stared at Bai Zhangxian, his face twitching. Naturally, he had heard of the Gale Sword by Zhangxian. Bai Zhangxian ignored He Ming and looked at Su Yi, asking, "You're Yi Su?" "Yes." Su Yi looked at Bai Zhangxian. Seeing Bai Ling beside him, he more or less had some guesses in his heart. "Are you willing to be my disciple?" Bai Zhangxian went straight to the point, looking at Su Yi as he asked. He had heard from Bai Ling that this kid was extraordinary, and he had helped Bai Ling before. He wanted to intervene and save this kid this once. Hearing this, many people, including Wu Qingfeng, Zhou De, and the others, were surprised. If Elder Bai really took this kid as his disciple, it would be much more difficult for them to seek revenge in the Taixing sect in the future. The corners of He Ming, Elder Bai, and Elder Yu's eyes twitched. The Taixing sect clearly wanted to intervene. "Thank you for your kindness, Senior. I appreciate it." Su Yi was a little surprised, but he immediately shook his head, cupped his hands, and bowed to Bai Zhangxian. Positive or hashtag version, you hear Nising Su Yi shake his head. The old man holding the wine gourd, who had been quietly watching from afar, revealed a hint of doubt in his eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. "Kid, do you know what it means to be my disciple? At least if someone wants to touch you, they'll have to think about whether they can touch the Taixing sect first." Bai Zhangxian had thought that this kid would definitely kowtow to him in gratitude and immediately become his disciple. He had accepted this disciple for the sake of his niece, Bai Ling. As long as Bai Ling had said that he had extraordinary talent, there would be no problem. However, this kid didn't seem to hesitate much and directly refused. This made Bai Zhangxian somewhat puzzled. "Thank you, Senior." Su Yi bowed again. How could he not understand Bai Zhangxian's good intentions? As long as he became Bai Zhangxian's disciple, he would be a disciple of the Taixing sect. If the Black Fiend sect wanted to touch him today, even if this was the Black Fiend sect's territory, they would have to think twice. However, Su Yi didn't want to become Bai Zhangxian's disciple, nor did he want to die. No one wanted to die. However, becoming a disciple like this and joining the Taixing sect, not to mention that Su Yi didn't have a good impression of those large sects. At least Su Yi felt that it was too cowardly. Even if he really wanted to become Bai Zhangxian's disciple, he would have to do it openly. "Aren't you afraid of death?" Bai Zhangxian looked at Su Yi and asked, as if he wanted to see through Su Yi. His expression was calm and his voice was sharp. "I am." Su Yi nodded and smiled. He was neither servile nor overbearing. He said to Bai Zhangxian, "But to me, a master for a day is a father for life. Becoming a disciple is like acknowledging a foster father. Naturally, I can't be careless about this. I can lose my life, but I can't just randomly acknowledge a father. If I don't die today, I will have the opportunity to become Senior's disciple in the future." Hearing Su Yi's words, Bai Zhangxian was stunned, but then he smiled and said, "Well said. You can lose your life, but you can't just randomly acknowledge a father. You have character. If you can survive today, you can come to the Taxing sect to find me. Su, you don't know what's good for you. Bai Ling looked at Su. She didn't know why she wanted to help him, but she was angry that he didn't appreciate her good intentions. Thank you, Miss Bai Ling. Su smiled faintly, knowing that Bai Ling meant well. Taxing sect, don't go too far. This is the savage demon forest, not Taxing Mountain. Since this kid doesn't like Taxing sect, then he has nothing to do with Taxing sect. He Ming's face was gloomy. Although he was afraid of Taxing sect, they were still in the savage demon forest. The top 10 factions had always wanted to get their hands on the savage demon forest, but they had never succeeded. Chapter 151. Whatever my Taxing sect wants to do, your Black Fiend sect can't do anything about it. Bai Zhongxian didn't want to bother with He Ming. He Ming's face was gloomy, but there was nothing he could do. Sensing Bai Zhongxian's aura, he really didn't have the confidence to deal with Bai Zhongxian. Kid, since you refuse a toast, only to be forced to drink a forfeit, I'll fulfill your wish. Since the kid didn't know what was good for him, and the Taxing sect didn't seem to intend to interfere, He Ming didn't want to waste time. He still had to find the whereabouts of the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng, so he attacked Su Yi again. Qila, like lightning, He Ming attacked quickly. His right hand was filled with black light, which turned into a terrifying color. The black light was deep and blazing, and instantly enveloped Su Yi. Second uncle. Bai Ling's face changed drastically, and her delicate face turned pale. She seemed to want her second uncle to intervene. Bai Zhongxian's face changed slightly, but he didn't intervene. He had a good impression of this kid, but he didn't want to intervene since he looked fearless. He also wanted to see if this kid had any other tricks up his sleeve. Qila. He Ming stretched out his hand, and a large area of the void was enveloped by a blazing black light. The aura was extremely terrifying. A dignified Origin Emperor attacking an Origin Soul Realm kid. Isn't this a little too much? A faint and vicissitude voice resounded. At the same time, a figure appeared in front of Su Yi like a ghost. The newcomer raised his hand, and with endless light, it slapped out like a vast ocean. A surge of aura leaked out, and the surroundings seemed to be filled with flashes of lightning. The light rushed into the sky and danced in the sky. Boom! Such a collision. The aura was impressive, and the surrounding boulders suddenly turned into dust. There were electric arcs and origin chi that turned into lightning streaks across the sky, shocking people's souls. The light was so bright that some people couldn't open their eyes. Rumble. The energy wind covered the sky and the earth, and the flattened ground once again exploded into a deep pit. Such a terrifying collision was very shocking. Su Yi felt his body retreating rapidly, and the light around him was dazzling. A strong gust of wind surged, cutting off a strand of hair near Su Yi's ear. His neck was scratched by the gust of wind, and a faint trace of blood flowed out. It was extremely dangerous. If it had been just a little bit more off, that energy wind would have pierced through Su Yi's throat. Fortunately, after dodging the attack for no reason, someone came to Su Yi's rescue. The smell of alcohol permeated the air. Before he even saw the person, Su Yi had already guessed who had come to his rescue. This wine aroma was too familiar. Thud thud. At this moment, He Ming staggered back a dozen steps before stabilizing his body. He was shocked and asked, "Who is it?" "Senior." Su Yi also turned his head. At this moment, a familiar old man in his 60s was holding a wine gourd and drinking wine. He was thin, but his figure was tall and straight. His black robe fluttered slightly. It was the mysterious old man. Who I am is not important. A dignified Origin Emperor making a move against an Origin Soul Realm brat makes me feel somewhat displeased, the mysterious old man said faintly. This is some of my Black Fiend sect wants. If you dare to interfere, you won't be able to walk out of the barbaric demon forest. He Ming looked at the mysterious old man who had suddenly appeared with fear. His expression also became gloomier. The surrounding gazes were also sizing up the mysterious old man. Since he dared to interfere in the Black Fiend sect's matter, he most likely had an absolute background. So what if you're from the Black Fiend sect? At least you don't have the qualifications to clamor in front of me. Suddenly, the mysterious old man looked at Hei Ming. A pair of brown eyes suddenly blazed. At the same time, a light soared around his black robe, and an aura suddenly rumbled. Boom! The aura was vast. The mysterious old man stood in the middle of it like an emperor. He looked at Hei Ming as if he was looking down on his servant. The aura was surging and astonishing. So powerful. Feeling such a powerful aura from afar, the young disciples of the Taixing sect also gasped. The aura was too powerful. Your Excellency, are you Merciless West? Shuesho of the Blood God sect's eyes moved slightly, as if he had thought of something. He was secretly shocked and asked in a low voice, Merciless West. When these three words were spoken, the gazes of many people in the area changed greatly. Merciless West? Who is that? The young disciples of the Taixing sect were very puzzled. They did not know who Merciless West was. Suicide Yama, Merciless West. You are too young to know this person. As early as 20 years ago, he was already an Origin Emperor expert. However, 20 years ago, he suddenly retired and disappeared. I did not expect to meet him here. Bai Zhongxian looked at Merciless West in front of him. His sharp eyes also fluctuated. Suicide Yama, Merciless West. Is he very powerful? A disciple of the Taixing sect asked. The name Suicide Yama seemed to be very powerful. An Origin Emperor expert was indeed incomparably powerful. However, as a disciple of the Taixing sect, he had seen many martial Emperor experts. Could it be that Merciless West, the Suicide Yama, was comparable to an Origin Emperor expert of the Taixing sect? There is always someone better than you, a mountain beyond a mountain, a sky beyond a sky. Bai Zhongxian saw through the disciples' thoughts and said, Merciless West, the Suicide Yama, is not only an alchemist, but also a soul controller. 20 years ago, when he had just stepped into the first layer of Origin Emperor realm, he had a peak battle. 3 first-layer Origin Emperors of the Sky Dragon sect joined hands to besiege him. However, in the end, one of them was severely injured and the other 2 were severely injured. However, the most terrifying thing was not Merciless West's strength, but his way of doing things. He was alone, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. With the identity of an alchemist and a soul controller, he developed a terrifying method. Once, the second-rate sect offended him and was razed to the ground in one night. Apart from the old, the weak, the women, and the children, the rest of the 3,000 disciples became mentally retarded and no one could save them. Someone from the Sky Dragon sect offended him, and in 3 years, he destroyed 10 branches. Many disciples of the Sky Dragon sect were also mentally retarded. In the end, he angered the higher-ups of the Sky Dragon sect, and they sent experts to hunt him down. Goo-goo! Hearing this, a group of young disciples of the Sky Dragon sect gasped. Merciless West, the Suicide Yama, was actually so terrifying. Not only was he an alchemist, but he was also a soul controller. Any one of these identities was already extraordinary. Moreover, a soul controller was a terrifying existence. M/+ version / E initial W hair, and 4, especially his way of doing things, he was not even afraid of the Sky Dragon sect. What else did he not dare to do? The Sky Dragon sect was also one of the 10 great powers of the Sky Dragon sect. I didn't expect that someone would still recognize me after so long. Merciless West stretched his body and smiled faintly, admitting his identity. Chapter 152. There are so many people here. It's really lively. Suddenly, such a voice was heard. The voice was soft and gentle. With such a voice, the whole place changed color. Even Merciless West was moved. Gazes followed the voice and immediately looked over. In the void in front of them, there was a girl who looked to be about 16 or 17 years old. She had a charming appearance, bright eyes, white teeth, white skin, thick silver wavy hair that casually draped over her shoulders, thick eyelashes, charming eyes, and a pair of sexy and plump lips that seemed to reveal a myriad of emotions at all times. A girl who looked to be about 16 or 17 years old had appeared silently and was so charming. Immediately, everyone's eyes were secretly shocked. Iyun and the other girls were also extraordinarily beautiful. But at this moment, when they looked at the girl from afar, they couldn't help but feel ashamed of their inferiority. Even Bai Ling was stunned. Such a girl made her feel that she couldn't compete with her. Su Yi looked up and was also sizing up the girl who suddenly appeared. She was tall and wore a white floral dress with suspenders, revealing her snow-white breasts. The dress only covered her knees, and the white belt around her waist made her waist slender, making her breasts even more plump. The girl stood quietly. Her pair of slender hands were as white as jade, and her head was full of wavy silver hair. Her eyebrows were slender and picturesque, and her eyes were twinkling like stars. Under the small bridge of her nose, there was a small mouth, and her face was delicate and beautiful. She was so refined that there was no trace of the mortal world. Such a girl made Su Yi feel a special aura at this moment for no reason. This girl seemed to be very strange. She didn't seem like an ordinary expert. Who can tell me where the blood jade spirit ginseng is? The young girl's gaze swept over the surrounding crowd. She smiled slightly and spoke again. She appeared to be only 16 or 17 years old. She clearly still had a youthful and lively immaturity, but she also gave off a seductive and incomparably gorgeous feeling. You're that cat demon. Z plus C plus 8 edition in 4. Section Q. He Ming's gaze was fixed on the girl, and his expression immediately became extremely vigilant. He Ming was shocked that such a young girl had appeared in front of them without a sound. He was afraid that other than the terrifying cat demon in the rumors, there was no one else. You're courting death. The girl's expression immediately changed when she heard the word cat demon. Her expression turned cold as she suddenly waved her hand, and a blazing light shot out. Strange and terrifying demonic chi filled the air and intertwined, turning into a pillar of light that shot towards He Ming. He Ming didn't seem to expect the girl to suddenly make a move. His expression changed greatly, and the yuan chi around him surged. A black mist lingered around him, and a palm print shot out to block the beam of light. Pu Chi, the beam of light, was like lightning. He Ming let out a muffled groan from his throat and staggered back. A bloody hole had appeared in his palm, and blood was flowing out. His expression changed drastically. The expressions of the surrounding experts also changed in an instant. With He Ming's cultivation and strength, he was actually injured in one move. It's her. Barbaric Demon Forest's 9 Lives Demon Cat. Everyone work together. Otherwise, none of us will be her match. He Ming turned pale with fright. He couldn't care less about his injuries. Without a doubt, the other party was the 9 Lives Demon Cat of the Barbaric Demon Forest, a demon royal expert. Rumble. As soon as He Ming finished speaking, the auras of Blood Hand by Zhang Qian and the old man in his 50s from the Wild Dragon Mercenary Alliance gushed out. Facing a demon clan expert, as a human, they indeed felt a sense of common hatred for the enemy. Compared to humans, don't forget that this is the barbaric demon Grand Canyon, not the land of you humans. The girl said indifferently. As soon as she finished speaking, a loud noise suddenly came from the distance. This was originally a large canyon, and the surroundings were in a mess. However, in the distance, the roar of a savage beast suddenly came from the distance. Roar! A giant bear that was dozens of feet tall roared across the sky. Its roar shook the heavens, and its body was covered in raging flames. This giant bear that was as red as blood stood there. Just its roar alone was enough to make those who were not strong enough feel weak all over, and they were about to collapse to the ground. There were a few savage beast mounts present. At this moment, they were no longer listening to their orders. They were lying on the ground, crawling and trembling nonstop. These savage beast mounts were so frightened that they didn't dare to raise their heads. They were absolutely suppressed. Gee! A sound pierced through the clouds and cracked stones. A purple ferocious bird spread its wings and flew over. Its terrifying aura shocked the world. Its wings were like dark clouds that covered the sun. Moo! Another loud roar shook the heavens and the earth. A giant bull appeared. Its body was covered in green light like the sun. It smashed through a mountain in the distance and rushed out. The green bull's aura was wild and ferocious, as if it could swallow mountains and rivers. It had the aura of a monarch, and it exploded with green light that shot into the sky. Crimson Blood Bear Emperor, Purple-Winged Eagle Emperor, Green Bull Demon Emperor. Blood Hand raised his eyes, and his expression changed greatly. It was another 3 demon emperors. As expected, there is more than one demon emperor. This is going to be troublesome. Bai Zhangqian's expression suddenly became tense. It was another 3 demon emperors, and they all came for the blood jade spirit ginseng. Oh, in the distance, the earth shook and the mountains shook. It seemed that many savage beasts were rushing over. Above the void, there were vicious birds spreading their wings. Their gigantic wings covered the sky like a dark cloud, causing the heaven and earth to become much dimmer. An indescribable aura overflowed into the heavens, causing people's souls to tremble. Oh no, there's a beast tide. These demon emperors have brought a beast tide. Someone cried out in alarm, shouting that things were bad. Everyone was terrified, including the strong cultivators. So many savage beasts were rushing over, and it was impossible to resist. Young man, have you seen my blood jade spirit ginseng? I seem to sense its aura from your body. Did you take my blood jade spirit ginseng? In the distance, the beasts roared like thunder. Sand and stones flew, and ferocious birds covered the sky. However, the girl was indifferent. She smiled indifferently and then looked at Su-yi. I have never seen the blood jade spirit ginseng. Su-yi shook his head again. He was shocked. No wonder her chi was different. It turned out that the girl was a demon emperor. In the distance, there was the Crimson Blood Bear Emperor, the Purple-Winged Eagle Emperor, and the Green Bull Demon Emperor. A total of 4 demon emperors. What kind of lineup was that? It was too shocking. It was likely that most of them had never seen so many experts in their entire lives. Little boy, you are not honest. The girl looked at Su-yi. When she finished speaking, her beautiful figure directly jumped toward Su-yi. Swish! With a shake of her delicate hand, the girl grabbed at Su-yi with a claw. There was a monstrous chi in it, and it was shining brightly. Swish! At the same time, a figure appeared in front of Su-yi again. A yuan chi light beam swept out and collided with it. Bang, bang. The 2 energies suddenly collided in the void and exploded. The surrounding rocks were torn apart, and the ground was cracked. A strong wind swept out like a hurricane. Chapter 153. Where do you think you're going? There was also a reprimanding voice that followed behind him like a shadow. Su-yi didn't even dare to breathe loudly, as if he was riding on a cloud. Hashtag look at the E-version Q chapter be after stabilizing his mind. Su-yi saw clearly that it was Merciless West, the Yama, who was holding him by the shoulder and bringing him away quickly. Behind him, the girl who seemed to be a cat demon was chasing him at a speed that was not slower than Merciless West. Bang, 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 whoa. Rumble. Below, and behind him, the low sound of energy colliding was constantly heard. It was intense and shocking. The remaining savage beast experts and the experts from the Black Fiend sect and the Blood God sect seemed to have already started fighting. However, the sound was getting further and further away. Su-yi couldn't help himself. Below him, mountains were leaping, valleys were shuttling, and fog was floating around him. Su-yi only felt that he was shuttling through the air like lightning. The speed of the Origin Emperor and Demon Emperor experts was so shocking. Human, you can't escape. The girl's voice was pleasant to the ear. It was getting closer and closer. Senior, Su-yi wanted to say something. He was very grateful. I'll help you block this cat demon for a while, but I'm afraid it won't last long. You should run for your life first. It's up to you whether you can escape or not. Absolute Yama, Shi Qing, said mercilessly. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure suddenly descended and threw Su-yi Su-yi down from the sky. Whoosh! Su-yi fell and landed on the canopy of a towering tree deep in the forest below. Yuan-chi surged. Su-yi immediately grabbed a branch and stabilized his body. Su-yi looked up and saw that Merciless West was in the air again. His long robe fluttered and his aura surged. I want that young man. If you want to stop me, you'll have to pay the price. The girl looked at Merciless West and said softly. Her charming face carried an absolute warning. Let's give it a try. Merciless West opened her mouth and said a few simple words. She stretched out her palm under her wide robe, and a bright brilliance accompanied by a surge of yuan-chi swept towards the girl. You made me angry. The young girl's expression instantly turned cold. Sharp lines appeared on her alluring face. Her charm exuded an awe-inspiring aura. The corners of her eyes and the tips of her brows were filled with aloofness. Demonic chi permeated the air around her, and light covered the sky and earth. Instantly, it collided with the young man, causing resplendent rays of light to erupt. Rumble! The collision was as loud as thunder, and Merciless West and the girl were both shocked. You have some strength. Not bad among humans. The girl did not stop and said coldly. Light shot out from her mouth like lightning and flew towards the Merciless West. Merciless West's expression darkened. He formed a seal with his hands, and yuan-chi fluctuated around him. It turned into a light shield and rushed out to block the former. Run! He did not have time to thank Merciless West. He jumped down from the towering tree and fled as fast as lightning. The intense battle behind him was shocking, and the sound waves were monstrous. It was rare to see a battle between an Origin Emperor and a Demon Emperor. However, Su-yi was not in the mood to enjoy it at the moment. He was running away. However, Su-yi did not run too far. Su-yi knew very well that no matter how fast he would not be faster than a Demon Emperor. Moreover, no matter where he hid, his aura would not be able to escape the prying eyes of a Demon Emperor. There was no way he could hide. After a while, a large river meandered through the canyon. The water flowed slowly, and the banks were green. Seeing this, Su-yi rushed in without hesitation. Under the riverbed, there were hidden reefs. There was an undercurrent surging, which proved that there was a secret passage leading to other places. Su-yi was a good swimmer in his previous life. He immediately dived in, not caring where the exit was. Under the undercurrent, there was indeed a secret passage. It became wider and wider, crisscrossing inside. Voila! The water gathered and formed a whirlpool. In a moment of carelessness, Su-yi could not help but hit a few reefs head first. He was suddenly dizzy. After a full 15 minutes, the front lit up and the space became bigger and bigger. It seemed to be an undercurrent, and there was a rumbling sound of water pouring out. Su-yi's body rushed out with the water. Hearing the rumbling sound, it seemed to be bottomless. In a panic, he immediately surged his primordial chi and pulled on her reefs to stop the momentum. Looking back, there was a waterfall that was more than 100 feet high. The water splashed, and the rumbling sound was endless. That was close. Su-yi gasped. If he was washed down from such a high distance, he would be seriously injured even if he did not die. Looking around, Su-yi discovered that there was a spacious cave not far away, hidden within the waterfall. This cave was good enough for hiding. It was a good place. The reefs were covered with moss and were wet and slippery. Su-yi was exhausted from being washed by the water. With great difficulty, he climbed up the reefs to the cave. The cave was wet and covered with moss. Roar! In the cave, a beast roar could be heard, and a huge monster suddenly appeared. This gigantic creature was entrenched together, as if it wanted to fill up half of the cave. Its body was covered with shiny silver scales, and its head was flat but covered with patterns. Its eyes were like copper bells, and its tongue was as red as blood as it flicked in and out of its mouth. It stared coldly at Su-yi. This was a silver python. Its body was covered with snow-white scales, like a blade. Silver-scaled, demonic python. Su-yi was stunned. This was a silver-scaled demonic python. From its aura, it was definitely at the demon spirit realm. It was a powerful savage beast with a bloodthirsty personality. The silver-scaled demonic python stared at Su-yi. This was a snack that was sent to its mouth. It seemed like its luck today was pretty good. Su-yi's face changed, not to mention that he was exhausted. Even if he was at his peak, he would not be the opponent of this savage beast. Boom! Suddenly, Su-yi operated the Origin Supreme art within his body. He calmly stood up and looked at the silver-scaled demonic python. At first, the silver-scaled demonic python was staring at Su-yi with murderous intent. However, when it felt the aura of Su-yi, its expression suddenly changed. After a moment of confrontation, the silver-scaled demonic python's tongue suddenly kept sticking out. A low roar came from its throat. It lowered its head as if it was crawling, then it turned around and left. Voila! The silver-scaled demonic python's body was at least 20 feet long. Its body was flowing with silver light, like a silver dragon. It immediately drilled into the undercurrent and disappeared. Su-yi didn't make a move and scared off the silver-scaled demonic python. This was also within Su-yi's expectation. The Origin Supreme Art's aura seemed to be the nemesis of the demonic beasts. Feeling that his surroundings were temporarily safe, Su-yi bitterly smiled. If he could still be found by the demon cat, then it would be his fate. Blood jasper ginseng. Gasping for breath, Su-yi suddenly remembered the blood jasper ginseng. Chapter 154. Sitting cross-legged, Su-yi called out the mysterious space. When Su-yi entered the mysterious space, he was dumbfounded. The fire-eyed man-tiger and the others were immersed in cultivation and did not know what was happening around them. But Su-yi saw at a glance. In the center of the mysterious space, where the spiritual liquid was produced, there was a radish-like blood jade spirit ginseng. It was directly soaking in a small pool of spiritual liquid. Its whole body was shining, and green light filled the air. The cracks on the radish's body seemed to be slowly recovering. Even a few withered leaves on its head had regained their luster. Hula. Soaking in the spiritual liquid, the blood jade spirit ginseng's roots seemed to be rooted in the spiritual liquid pool and absorbed the spiritual liquid continuously. Immersed in the spiritual liquid, there was a mist of light around it, and it looked very mysterious. Damn radish. Su-yi was dumbfounded. This was the spiritual liquid that he could not bear to consume. It was a precious treasure. But now, the radish was soaking in it and absorbing a large amount of spiritual liquid. Seeing this, Su-yi felt like his heart was being cut by a knife. He immediately rushed over and wanted to take the blood jade spirit ginseng out. But when he reached the spiritual liquid pool, Su-yi suddenly stopped. His expression darkened, and he fixed his eyes on the blood jade spirit ginseng. Blood jade spirit ginseng. This was the blood jade spirit ginseng that the experts of the Black Killing sect, the Blood God sect, and even the Taxing sect were looking for. It was a spiritual medicine that could help one step into the monster illusionary realm. It was the main ingredient to refine several kinds of yellow-grade elixirs. It was said that directly consuming the blood jade spirit ginseng could improve one's cultivation and even bring the dead back to life. In an instant, Su-yi was shocked. He had always wanted to get the blood jade spirit ginseng. Then, it would be enough to help his grandfather recover and even improve his cultivation. Now, the blood jade spirit ginseng had come to him. Su-yi stared at the blood jade spirit ginseng. It was similar to the radish. It was this inconspicuous fellow who had actually attracted lightning strikes and caused so many experts to fight over it. It seemed like it was definitely useful. As long as his grandfather consumed it, he should be able to recover from his injuries and even improve further. Thinking about the original appearance of the blood jade spirit ginseng, Su-yi guessed that it should have been struck by lightning very badly and suffered heavy injuries. Only when it completely recovered would it have the best effect. Only then would it be useful for his grandfather to take it. Su-yi wondered if it was for his grandfather or if it was the blood jade spirit ginseng that had come to his door. At this moment, he looked at the spirit liquid being absorbed and felt relieved. He no longer felt distressed. In this mysterious space, it was easy to enter but to leave, one would need his permission. Therefore, He was not worried that the blood jade spirit ginseng would escape. He was exhausted and needed to adjust his breathing. He didn't know where that terrifying demon cat of the Demon Emperor realm was looking for him. For the time being, He had no intention of going out. He could only stay in the mysterious space. Sitting cross-legged, He began to circulate his chi and adjust his breathing. A large area was in ruins. Rocks were broken and mountains collapsed. These were the traces of a great battle. But at this moment, it had returned to silence. The terrifying beast tide and savage beast experts were also gone. The people of the major forces were also gone. But there were many bloody traces and beast bodies left on the ground, which proved that there had been a fierce battle not long ago. In the distance, some figures appeared and approached cautiously. These people were some adventurers attracted by the nearby area. They also came for the blood jade spirit ginseng. But looking at the traces of such a fierce battle, they all gasped. The blood jade spirit ginseng appeared. It must have been taken by a powerful expert. It seems that people from the Black Devil sect, the Mad Dragon Mercenary Alliance, and the Blood God sect are here, and the experts from the Taixing sect. Those demon emperors are too scary. I wonder if the blood jade spirit ginseng fell into the hands of those demon emperors or the Black Devil sect. Some people were discussing, but with the Demon Emperor realm savage beast experts, the Black Devil sect, and the Taixing sect intervening, they had no chance to get the blood jade spirit ginseng. On the mountain peak, several figures stood. They were Lin Qingrong, Attendant Wu, and the others from the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. I didn't expect Bai Zhangqian from the Taixing sect to also come here, Attendant Wu said, looking into the distance. Just now, the Spirit Treasures Pavilion didn't intervene. What I didn't expect the most was that the absolute Yama, Shi Wuqing, also came. Lan Linglian spoke softly. Her light purple dress outlined her graceful figure. She muttered to herself, "That young man seems very familiar. Could it be him?" "Fairy, are you talking about that Isu?" the plain-clothed woman asked. She also saw some clues. If that young man is Isu, then it seems that behind him is Yama, Merciless West. Lan Linglian seemed to be thinking about something. "Fairy, we didn't see the blood jade spirit ginseng just now. Could it really have run away again?" Attendant Wu was very puzzled. From the battle, it seemed that no one had obtained the blood jade spirit ginseng. The blood jade spirit ginseng has the innate ability to hide. But that young man appearing here, could it really be a coincidence? Or is there something else? Lan Linglian said softly. The 9 Lives demon cat chased after that young man. Perhaps it sensed something. Since the blood jade spirit ginseng's whereabouts have been lost, and the 9 Lives demon cat and the other demon emperors have all appeared here. "Fairy, let's go back." The plain-clothed woman spoke. The faint wrinkles on her face were like marks left behind by time. She stood quietly behind Lan Linglian. "Fine, it's time to go back." Lan Linglian slightly raised her head. Her long hair slanted over her soft, boneless waist, making her even more alluring. On the mountain peak, the experts from the Black Devil sect stood there, panting. Some of them had bloodstains on their bodies. Elder Bai and Elder Yu also appeared to be in a rather sorry state. Inform the sect to do their best to find that young man and Merciless West. The blood jade spirit ginseng might be on that young man. We must not let it go. Heiming's voice was gloomy. His body was cold, and his face was as pale as ash. Although the bloody hole in his palm was no longer bleeding, it still looked bloody. In addition, he had just fought with the Demon Emperor and suffered a lot, so he was in an even more difficult situation. The mountain ranges were connected, and the great peaks stood tall. This was a place where very few humans had entered. In the depths of the canyon, a surging waterfall poured down fiercely. Its momentum was like a galloping horse, like a swimming dragon. It made a shocking rumbling sound, as if 10,000 horses were galloping. Rumble, the waterfall fell vertically about 100 feet high. It made a continuous rumbling sound, and its momentum was vigorous and majestic. Splash! The water smashed into the protruding rocks on the stone wall, and beads flew out like the spit of a giant dragon. Droplets of water that looked like jade and silver splashed everywhere. Phew! In the mysterious space, he stopped his breathing. As he withdrew his hand seals, he spat out a mouthful of turbid air. Boom! He opened his eyes, and a dazzling light flickered. A powerful aura spread out from his body, shaking the surroundings, and then slowly retracted. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.